Good morning, good morning. Counting has already started, but today, as we are bang in the middle of results day and counting, we'd like to pause for a moment and remember a very, very valued friend and an absolutely brilliant journalist. A man who had covered every UP election for the last 3 decades and knew more about the state and its people than any of us here can ever aspire to. We lost Kamal Khan much, much too soon and so suddenly. That was earlier this year. Today we pay tribute once again to this excellent journalist and the huge void that he has left amongst us. We've lost a great friend, a great human being, an impossible person to replace. God bless you, Kamal, and God give your family strength. Vasu?
No, I'm so glad you did that actually, because it's just unreal or surreal to think of a UP election without Kamal. In fact, really, my first big political assignment in Uttar Pradesh was with Kamal. This was that famous or infamous 1997 assembly violence where mics were being thrown.
Right.
And he and I were hunkered down in the press gallery, jumping up to shoot, jumping down. And you get a kind of master class into the kind of journalist Kamal was. Even at that time, calm, composed, and describing everything in that wonderful, poetic way.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
very,
so he was
very
really
special person.
Can I add something to this?
Yes, yes.
On one of our earlier trips, I think 2019, he said on that boat ride when we were recording,
right,
he said all our analysis about Hindi heartland has to change.
Right.
Because a lot of the conventional arguments are gone because far too many people see Narendra Modi like an avatar, as he said. And
right,
every time I see stuff coming out of Hindi heartland, I reflect on this because that was one line of finest wisdom spoken.
Yeah. We will really miss him. And it was so sudden. He was such a fit man. He was really...
very particular about his health.
Yeah.
Very particular about his diet.
Just one of those things.
So, unbelievable.
Right. So, we'll be getting results, actually leads in very soon. Just a health warning. The first few will be postal votes. So, they are often not representative of even the first round of counting. So, we go to postal votes, then first round, second round, and goes up to 14, 16 rounds. And it does change as each round progresses. So be a little careful of early leads. We won't get results till much later, but leads are a good indicator. But there's a probability of error also among leads, but certainly among postal votes. And you've been there, done that.
The good news is in Goa this time, they're going to count simultaneously. Because you remember last time, Goa, small state, went on for hours. This time they're counting simultaneously. So I think in about a couple of hours, you will have a pretty clear picture.
I think Goa, the real count begins after the results. Correct.
It's actually...
in terms of who's where in which
It's actually already begun. It's already begun. The Congress has already sought an appointment with the governor.
And every editorial page writer will write an edit called Politics of the Last Resort.
Right, exactly.
We call it the resort.
But the governor in Goa is going to be very important.
Sorry?
Governor in Goa is going
exactly.
to be critical depending on who gets which is the largest party.
So as we said yesterday, in UP there's a kind of 80 to 90% chance that the BJP will win given the exit polls, but there's still a 10-15% chance. Dorab, you put it at a 99% chance, or are you there, Dorab?
People in Goa, Delhi are so interested because half of you live in Delhi, Goa. Secondly, Vasu has interviewed...
I deny everything.
He only works in Goa.
Vasu has interviewed every single politician and 90% of the electorate in Goa. So Vasu actually is much better than the polls. He's interviewed everybody. I mean, there are very few people walking around in Goa who haven't met Vasu.
Okay, I must tell you an interesting thing about turnout in Goa and the other states. We get hour by hour turnout, and I looked at the comparison of each state. When do people vote? In Punjab, they are very late risers. They don't vote early, and they very late back home for sunset. They're already at home, so they only vote in the middle of the day. In Goa, they get to vote very early, but they go back very early. UP and Uttarakhand, they get to early, but go back early. UP is kind of, very civilized and proper. But Dorab, like you used to vote at 6 a.m. even before the booths open.
Yes, because thanks to you, I had to come to Delhi the same day. So I used to catch an 8 o'clock flight, having voted at 7 o'clock.
Mad. I won't say which.
So is there, Prannoy, is there a hangover theory of voting patterns?
Are you saying the Sardars are hangover?
No, I'm just asking you.
No, what are you saying?
I mean, Goans are not. You should be happy.
Are you suffering from a hangover theory right now?
At all. I only drink lassi.
So there is going to get information any second now. But till then, remember, we've always said there's a 80 to 90% chance in UP of the BJP winning. If we look at the table, actually, you know that the most uncertain state is Goa. A poll has just come out in UP that's showing the other side winning. So it's now no 12-0, it's 12-1. 12 saying the BJP will win and 1 saying the Samajwadi Party will win. So 12-1 is just about 10%.
Yeah, I don't know what the outlier poll is, but yes, I mean, if you saw CSDS as well yesterday, which came out of the post poll.
Yeah.
That again is saying landslide, 43% vote share to the BJP.
Yeah.
So, but can I just say something?
Yeah, there it is, 12-1.
Right. And this is something which we were talking about earlier as well, and this is something to do with covering elections in the Modi era, that you've written about and talked about these different phases of Indian politics. The first phase after independence, where it was all pro-incumbency.
Right.
The second phase was the age of anger. It was all anti. Regardless of how well you did or didn't, you'd get voted out.
Yeah.
The recent phase was supposed to be the phase of maturity, right? If you do well, you get
50-50,
voted in.
yeah.
50-50, you're voted out. We seem to be in a fourth phase of Indian democracy, where your governance, your performance seems to be de-linked from electoral outcomes. Right. So you can go out there, meet people who say we're upset, we're angry, we're berozgar hai, stray cattle, you name it. Then who will you vote for? BJP, Yogi Modi.
I think it's partly to do with the fact that many states, it's like a cricket match between India and Papua New Guinea. I mean, it's the other opposition is awful. There's not an alternative. If there was a solid alternative like you're getting in Punjab, people do vote for that.
Be careful what you say, because Pondicherry has this year beaten Bombay twice in cricket. So tomorrow, Papua New Guinea could beat
There
India.
you are. That's the 10% chance. Yeah.
No, so I think that's a fair point, because
First lead in.
Right.
BJP holding in Hastinapur. We'll have a look at the margin last time, how much it led by. But that's, first of all, straight away good news for the BJP.
And that's also from the West, which is also in the earlier phases of the election, right? Where the BJP was supposed to be somewhat
BJP gains
on the back
in
foot,
Amroha. Those are the ones to watch. SP held this last time. This is in Rohilkhand. And the BJP is gaining, again, postal votes. So one should be very careful to extrapolate from this. But any gain is really what one should look at. Changes,
and
more
also
than holding.
Interesting, both these seats are coming, in fact now we have 3, all coming from the western part of Uttar Pradesh. These are the initial phases where the perception was that partly because of the farmers' agitation, partly because of the reconsolidation of the Jat Muslim vote, the SP alliance with INLD, that there might be a shift. But look at this, but as again, like you said, health warnings, these are all postal leads.
Reels, would you give this health warning as well? You studied elections more than anybody else I know. And amazing, your work is absolutely outstanding, I must say. So these early leads, one should just be a little cautious with them?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. They are based on fragments of votes, postal ballots, and so it's really too early to say anything. And as we've seen, again and again in previous elections, there's a lot of back and forth until trends stabilize.
What are you doing here? You've spent the last 3 elections in Lucknow.
It must be the appeal of the studio. What can I say?
The lack of appeal of the studio.
It's good to see anyone at this point.
Thank you very much for joining us.
So now there are 4 leads.
4 leads and all the BJP doing well.
Yeah. And SP down
that's
1.
interesting. Nagpur, Samajwadi Party gains. It was held by the BJP in 2017. Health warning. How many times are we going to say it?
We'll have to say it for hours because nobody else is giving these health warnings. Let me tell you, everyone is now going with this as the gospel.
Right. Let's see any more information coming in. Agra, Amroha, Hastinapur, all BJP holding on or gaining in Amroha. That is a. But interesting thing this time. And I'm going to ask you this, don't take it otherwise, as they say, don't take it otherwise. A lot of seniors were allowed to do postal votes this time. First time. No.
But you have to define senior.
Can we define seniors? I mean,
above 80.
Because we're all youngsters, so who's a senior?
Above 80.
I see.
Right.
But how much is the evidence that everywhere initially they call postal votes, they count postal votes, and how many are postal votes?
Very little.
Yeah.
And in fact, the over 80s are tiny. They're like 1,000 or 2,000.
Yeah, but why does it take so long for postal votes to be done?
Because they actually open a lifafa, you have to take it out, you have to stack it,
The
then
old
they'll
style.
count it. It's not like the machine thing. It's like the old paper ballot. It's worse. You have to open
So
it.
you can imagine if EVMs are given up, then how long will it take counting now? Because there are that many more voters and voting percentages have gone up in India. So you could be counting forever and then recounting.
So now you have actually almost 6 to 7, if not, it's changing so fast. You have actually 8 leads, and Prannoy, one of them is interestingly enough a lead for the RLD, which is of course the partner of Akhilesh Yadav. They're leading in Thana Bhavan in the west, gaining from the BJP. So that'll also be very interesting to watch as to how the alliance is performing, because at the moment, if you look at the leads coming in from the west, it largely seems to be an edge to the BJP, but you have one RLD lead as well. So that is interesting. Yeah. If we can also just go across to my colleague Sanket Upadhyay, Prannoy, because he's been tracking this. He's joining us from Lucknow. So again, Sanket, with all the health warnings, we're seeing some initial leads, yet it's come to about now 8 leads. The BJP is up in 6-2 is for the SP alliance. One of that, Sanket, is actually an RLD lead.
Absolutely, and that too in the west. So, the thing is that, and very interesting that you mentioned Hastinapur, because UP has these 3 or 4 bellwether seats. Hastinapur is one of them. Whoever wins Hastinapur wins Uttar Pradesh. The other is Kasganj, and there are some in Purvanchal also. So, the point is that the Samajwadi Party is preparing on many fronts. While these leads start coming in, the Samajwadi Party is not just guarding these EVM machines. I met a lot of senior leaders from the Samajwadi Party, and they said, and they've asked their leaders to be extra vigilant, that there could be a possibility. I don't know, could be conspiracy theories, but they say that there could be a possibility where the internet bandwidth in certain places may be reduced to slow down the voting, which is an allegation that the Samajwadi Party made 2 days ago, that voting will be slowed down in seats where the contest is going to go down to the wire. About 50 odd such seats where the winning margin last time around was less than or within 5,000. The Samajwadi Party also feels that given the large number of postal ballots this time around, the ballot papers, because it's not just the conventional people in the forces or people who are deployed in election duty or government officers. Here, this time around, just like Bihar, there will be postal ballots for those who are COVID affected, those who are old who cannot go out and vote. Given this high number of postal ballots, Vasu, the Samajwadi Party feels that there could also be a quote-unquote conspiracy to count the postal ballots later to delay the counting and delay the result and thus benefit the BJP. The reason why they are saying all of this because they feel that this is what they have learned from their experience in Bihar. So, just telling you at 8:15, don't be surprised if by the afternoon you could hear something along these lines from the Samajwadi Party, if the result does not go in their favor.
Okay. In fact, Prannoy, now you've got 8 leads in Uttar Pradesh, BJP alliance, 6 Sapa alliance 2, but you also, Prannoy, have first leads coming in from Punjab and Uttarakhand. In both instances, it's the Congress. So in Punjab, the Congress is holding. In Uttarakhand, the Congress is gaining.
That's quite significant. Again, the health warning about postal votes, and that can change dramatically.
But when we look at those leads, you need to look also at who the candidates are. So we mentioned Naku, for example.
Yes.
The leading candidate right now is Dharam Singh Saini, who's one of the defectors, who's running on an SP ticket, but he's also the sitting BJP MLA. So while the BJP may appear to be losing that seat, the current MLA actually seems to be holding it.
Right.
And he's a two-time MLA, previous first-time elected on the BSP. So you have to look at also individual
But the alliance
candidates.
also seems to be gaining in Thana Bhavan, which is a BJP seat.
That's right.
Which is Suresh Rana's seat, who's one of those who's considered to be a, Hindutvavadi leader of the BJP. So there the RLD, at least they were, but again it's changing fast, so we have to be a little careful.
And BSP came second in that seat. RLD came third last time. So it's
So now it's up to 9 in Uttar Pradesh. It's 7 to the BJP alliance and 2 to the Samajwadi Party. So Prannoy, it's going to take a while before the postal vote, the ratio, because we've got a separate table that actually tells you the ratio between the postal votes and the actual votes. And it takes a while before you get, it shifts enough for it to actually start counting.
In fact, we've heard some regional channels are putting it at 18-18 to BJP and Samajwadi Party. But, we have to just keep waiting. Already gone ahead of us.
So 36 already leads in this.
But again, postal votes, of course. Yeah. But
by the way, the other SP gain is also, this one from Nagpur is also from the Congress. I mean, the Congress came second. The BJP had very few votes here, 37, which was one of the weaker.
Okay. So let's also, Prannoy, just go across to our colleague Alok Pandey, who's been at a counting center in Lucknow. Now, Alok, again, these are all very, very early leads. So far, the BJP does seem to be ahead. But and we saw this firsthand. It's a very, I wouldn't say but it's almost a kind of volatile situation there at these counting centers with SP workers camped there, BJP workers camped there. So, is that how it's, is that how it's going to play out through the day?
One waits to see what happens, Vasu. The early enthusiasm and the energy has kind of quieted down because everyone's gone inside the counting centers now. So this is one of the gates that leads to the counting centers. You can see that there's a heavy police deployment here. All of the workers of the Samajwadi Party and the BJP are inside. They've gone inside. And the counting process is also just about to start. In fact, I'll just start. I'm just going to walk to this side and let Rajesh also give you a shot of this CCTV here that a lot of my colleagues are also filming. If you can just walk ahead, Rajesh. So this is basically a CCTV monitor or footage that has been made available to anyone who's outside, and these people can actually come and we can come and see here. Those are all strong rooms. So those strong rooms have been opened now. And I can see EVMs placed inside, and I can see the CRPF and other paramilitary forces who are guarding those strong rooms. The agents, the polling staff are outside. Some counting has started, perhaps some will start in a bit. So that is what is happening over here. I think the larger issue of the neck-and-neck fight between the BJP and the Samajwadi Party, I think from our experience of reporting on the ground, it should be a tighter fight, but like we've been reporting, the all opinion polls say one thing, they point to one direction. I asked, interestingly, a Samajwadi Party person and a BJP person what their projection for the seat was. A very young BJP supporter said that my projection is 280 for the BJP, and the Samajwadi Party person standing next to him said that our party will get 305. These were exact figures that they gave me. If I manage to find them after afternoon, then I'll check back with them about who won and who lost.
All right, Alok, thanks very much indeed for that. So let's just quickly go through now where we stand with this. And now we have, Prannoy, up to 10 leads in Uttar Pradesh, BJP ahead in 8, dropping 1, SP Alliance in 2, a gain of 1. Punjab, again, it's the Congress, which seems to be holding in 1 seat. And Uttarakhand, now you've got 2 leads. Prannoy, the BJP leading in 1, and Congress is gaining in 1 seat. So that seems to broadly, I mean, again, early doors, but that broadly seems to indicate the nature of the contest in Uttarakhand, where the exits are suggesting that it could be quite a close fight.
Yeah, but I think at the moment, I would say the BJP would be reasonably pleased with what's happening. But again, it's that 90-10 situation with 80-20. I mean 80-20% chance of winning. Why are you laughing?
80-20 is a very loaded term.
I'm pure statistician. So, but overall, the BJP be a little worried that the Samajwadi Party alliance has gone up by 50%, but it's still 3 seats, gone from 2 to 3. It's nothing much.
I just want to say that, the reports I've been getting is that the Samajwadi Party alliance, that the RLD is actually doing rather well. The RLD, the sympathy factor with, Ajit Singh's passing and, his son, Jayant Chaudhary. So, in fact, in the SP alliance, it's the RLD which was doing really well and getting a lot of traction. And this was leading to the feeling that the Samajwadi Party was forging ahead. But in fact, the winner of this alliance is the RLD and the Ralod, which is going ahead and causing all the chemistry around this alliance, when in fact the Samajwadi Party itself may not be increasing its incremental vote. But the RLD
in Western Uttar Pradesh, as you know, which is where RLD is fighting most of its 33 seats.
Yeah, the RLD
it is really, well, it is really the RLD, because you don't have too much of a Samajwadi Party vote base, right? You don't have too many Yadavs. So essentially, they are carrying the alliance's weight.
Yeah, but the chemistry around the alliance is on the RLD side, and they are the ones that are forging ahead in this election. Samajwadi Party, less so. In Western UP.
Let's remember that the RLD is maybe competitive in 33 seats, and it has very little, if not nothing, to offer in everywhere else. And the RLD in recent elections has not weighed more than 2.5% of vote share. So it's actually a fairly localized phenomenon.
Yeah, but it's the one creating
one
the buzz.
caste, single caste.
By the way, if we look at the channel monitors, UP, BJP is sweeping, Goa they're ahead, Punjab, the Congress seems to be ahead, and in Uttarakhand, the Congress is sweeping. I mean, the BJP doesn't have a single lead in channel monitoring from any of the other channels.
What is
all the channels, regional, other channels, etc. Yeah.
Channel monitoring, as in TV channel.
What numbers other TV channels are giving?
Right.
We'll attribute that to a lack of caution, maybe.
Then I think everybody can choose the one they want, one they like.
Gaurav has something to say. Go ahead.
Yes, Gaurav, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I think the 8-2, if the polls have to be reversed, it has, firstly, there can't be more than a few thousand votes in a constituency out of 2.5 lakh voters. So you're talking about very small numbers of postal ballots. And I think, there's not even a trend. If you look at 8-2, I mean, if the SP has to turn things around, it has to be sweeping those as to 5 or 6, because now you're mainly in Western UP, which is the RLD strong area. So I think these votes should be totally ignored. I don't know what the other channels are doing. They just are no guide at all. How can 2,000 untypical votes, make us do any prognostications?
And these would be mainly army votes, army, police, these kind of people, right?
No.
Army, police, civil servants, school teachers who are working on the polls. I mean, it's extremely difficult in India to get a postal vote unless you are in one of those specified categories. And Western UP is an army area too.
So would you say this is a more nationalist vote, if you see what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The Uber and Deshbhakt.
Yeah. But then Uttarakhand, you're getting it the other way around. So.
But Baj, you're right, because if you actually look at the other channels, the numbers are huge. They've already started in Uttar Pradesh, they've gone up to 140, 160 leads.
Oh my God.
In Punjab, 40, 50 leads, same in Uttarakhand. So that's like
Punjab 40, 50 leads.
Yeah.
You can say
Whatever thing
you're
you
going to
want.
reach there at some
Who
point.
are who's leading in Punjab in the channel motto?
Congress.
Network? Congress.
But again, these would be army votes, police votes and things like that. So
Yeah. Don't forget also that vote share will stabilize way before the seats. The seats will keep changing through the day.
Yeah.
What we need to look at are the first vote share estimate, which of course postal ballot doesn't give you.
Right. But Prannoy, again, just looking at Uttar Pradesh, and again, if these trends suggest the wider script, the exit polls as well, going back to what you were saying about a contest between, who was it versus Papua New Guinea? India versus So again, if one looks at the contest put up by Akhilesh Yadav, I mean, it was a fight well fought, but was it too late? He comes out in October, that's when the real road shows and the yatras begin. He starts getting good traction. But frankly, you had multiple opportunities earlier. You've had multiple waves of the pandemic. You've had all the mishandling of that. You had COVID deaths, oxygen shortage. Did he not cash in on time? Is this a repeat of Tejasvi in Bihar, who jumped in at the last minute, got huge frenzy at his rallies?
A little bit different to that because of the panchayat elections. In 2021, there were major panchayat elections.
Yes.
And it was almost 50-50, but actually about 52 to 48 BJP to Samajwadi Party.
SP, yes.
And that was a huge signal
Yes.
that things could be changing. But then since then, you're right, that hasn't been capitalized on. And
also the BJP doing massive damage control, huge publicity exercise. There was even speculation about whether Yogi Adityanath should be replaced or not, which is now easy to forget. But all the headlines around April, May, there was talk that, the BJP was considering change. But then they fully backed him and built a huge kind of hype around the fact that he was the best thing that could have happened to Uttar Pradesh. So,
well, I hate to
so it's
do
been
a
quite
terrible
a big shift from then.
With all the health warnings, the BJP is now 9 out of 15, and that would suggest 2/3.
Oh God, already. But there's only postal ballots, Gaurav was saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Are you already calling the election? So
About 225, which is, that's it.
that's it.
Let's go.
Well, let me add 2 quick points. One, to be fair to Tejasvi, he nearly got past that mark. He got done in by the not very wise idea of giving 70 seats to Congress to contest. If you extrapolate Tejasvi's strike rate on the 70 Congress seats, or even if Congress had got 30 on the rest, Tejasvi would have gone past the halfway mark. So it's unfair to say that he only came in the last and so he lost. He was very close. He nearly defeated the BJP.
But Akhilesh was not seen during COVID 2.0. He really wasn't seen on the ground.
Nor incidentally was Tejasvi during COVID 1.0.
Yeah, they weren't
so
seen
there
on
was
the
a very
ground. In
similar
fact, he's
parallel.
been active only 5 months, for 5 months before the polls.
And also the other interesting thing about Tejasvi was that he had just a 1-point announcement, 10 lakh jobs. So every rally was basically built
Just
around
jobs.
his coming and announcing that if you elect me, I'll sign, and the next day you will get 10 lakh jobs. Akhilesh's campaign perhaps lacked that one single
strong
focused message. It was a sum of many parts, but what did it all add up to?
Well, again with Tejasvi, you can't rule out, you can't discount the Owaisi factor, right? Owaisi made a difference in enough seats in Bihar. Bihar result was very close.
But you know, Mayawati has given tickets to 80 Muslims, which is very significant because it seems as if she's almost trying to cut the Samajwadi vote. In fact, Mayawati is a strange enigma in this election. I mean, she seems to have abdicated space.
Less than, about 10 seats less than last time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much the same last time as well.
No,
right?
no,
Because you've been
that's
passing
right. And most of the
candidates by caste and religion.
And most of the votes that the BSP gets from Muslims, again, are concentrated in Western UP. The SP, over the past 3-4 elections,
has not been given that.
Has actually had the largest share of Muslim votes compared to the BSP. So yes, there is a cutting factor, but again, quite localized.
Well,
yeah, but
if we just, sorry, just a second. If we can just go a second, Prannoy, just again look at where we stand, big picture with the numbers. So now we have 17 leads coming in from Uttar Pradesh, BJP alliance 11, SP 6. So just literally half. Punjab 2, now it's Congress and Aam Aadmi Party 1 each, no change. And Uttarakhand 2, BJP 1, down 1. Congress is 1 again from the BJP. So this is what, but does this also indicate, Prannoy, somewhere along the line, if you look at what's happening in Uttar Pradesh, this whole idea that Uttar Pradesh is becoming increasingly a bipolar contest, that is now going to largely
Definitely
be
looks like that. And
BJP, Sapa.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that. And I would say that we are being extremely conservative, putting 11 and 7 out of 18. It probably is almost the same ratio, 2/3, 1/3, or actually 55-45, but many more seats that are very shaky, but people are just taking them because parties are going to get there eventually. So you can always be
a bit more
adventurous at the beginning.
risky.
Yeah.
Something that's
Okay. Let's also just go across now to our colleague Rishika Barua, who's joining us from Goa, from Panjim, where again, as we've been saying, it's Khela Hobe, it's the game before or even after the game. Now, Rishika, it's interesting. So far, Goa, small state, we've not seen a single lead. But what is the sense that you're picking up on the ground? Because, you know, as you guys have been reporting, Congress has already sought an appointment with the governor. The MLAs are in resorts. So it's already game on.
Well, absolutely. It's been game on, I think, since the elections have been over, and it's, of course, picked up pace in the last 24 hours that we've been here in Goa. We do know from highly placed sources within the Congress, they've spoken with my colleague Sohit Mishra and told him that they have sought an appointment with the governor even before counting began this morning, Vasu. But they haven't gotten that appointment yet from the governor's office. We've also requested the governor's office for a comment on whether any other, or whether the BJP rather, has in fact, also sought an appointment, but no word there. But yes, the Congress has left nothing to chance. Once bitten, twice shy. They have their MLA candidates cooped up in a resort. They've called it the extended birthday celebration for Digambar Kamath. But well, it's too much of a coincidence to call it that. The Aam Aadmi Party has also taken a leaf of the Congress's book and kept its MLA candidates in safe houses in smaller groups at undisclosed locations in Goa. The BJP, of course, had a high-level meet yesterday. The BJP Goa in charge, Devendra Fadnavis, is here in Goa taking stock of the situation. The entire senior leadership was there at that meeting. And as far as which way it's going to go, well, Goa is an extremely hard state to predict. The exit polls have predicted a hung assembly, which is probably true. But, with the margins of victory being as little as 200 votes in the past election in certain constituencies, it's an extremely hard election to predict and an extremely tight race between the Congress and the BJP, which, by the way, is extremely interesting given the fact that 15 of the 17 Congress MLAs defected after the last election and joined the BJP. So the Congress has really had to reinvent itself in a certain sense as far as Goa is concerned.
Thanks very much indeed, Rishika, for that. But also all eyes on Congress, where at the moment we have 5 leads, but interestingly, it's 3-2. 3 to the Congress, 2 to Aam Aadmi Party. Again, early days, but Yeah, it's
So what's the
it's not-
percentage chance?
See the
Let's ask
WhatsApp.
Ghazali.
See the
It's with
WhatsApp.
us. Mohammed Ghazali joining us from Mohali. Ghazali, again, we're not trying to read too much into these early leads because they are, as we said, postal ballots. But it's 3 actually to the Congress party. But what's your sense from where you are? Is the AAP still confident that they are going to be the Kaptan of Punjab?
See, where I am right now, I'm right outside CM Charanjit Singh Channi's residence, but he is on a temple run. He is visiting all the Gurdwaras since morning. We tried to chase him from one district to another, but he is moving on, paying obeisance at one Gurdwara to another. Now he is in his own constituency. Right now we are in Mohali. His constituency is in Ropar district, the Chamkaur Sahib district. Now, as far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, certainly they say that they are going to cross the majority figure mark very easily. Bhagwant Mann was leading in the earlier trends, as I'm hearing some reports from Sangrur district, but just a couple of minutes back, we got a report that Dalveer Goldli from the Congress is also leading. Navjot Singh Sidhu is leading from Amritsar East, while Bikram Majithia is watching all these poll results behind the bars in Patiala, as he's facing case in the NDPS case, and he's behind the bars in judicial custody. As far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, Vasu, every time we say that they are very strong in Malwa belt of Punjab. Now, Malwa belt of Punjab has got more than 10 districts. They gained considerably last time in Bhatinda district, but Muksar, which is the stronghold of Badals, they could not win a single seat in Muksar district. Similarly, in Fazilka district and Firozpur district, these two districts also come in Malwa belt. They could not open their account last time. Now we'll have to see that in such districts where they had no Aam Aadmi Party MLA or they had no representation, whether they can break through in this election. Similarly, we'll also watch and observe those seats which AAP won last time, but their MLA switched to Congress. Will the voters trust Aam Aadmi Party again, regardless of which face has been fielded yet again? Like out of 18 or 20 seats they won last time, almost 9 or 10 MLAs switched, or they were upset with the party, they went to Congress, or they turned rebel basically. But on all those 10 seats, we'll have to see whether they are leading right now or not. As far as the heavyweights are concerned, like Sukhbir Badal, Prakash Singh Badal, Captain Amrinder Singh, or Mr. Channi and rest of the other cabinet ministers of Punjab are concerned, if Aam Aadmi Party, if we say there is a wave in Punjab, then all these heavyweights will also have to lose. Because last time, if Akali Dal is concerned, last time they had the worst drubbing ever in Punjab. They got just 20 seats. Yet Sukhbir Badal defeated Bhagwant Mann from Jalalabad seat. Prakash Singh Badal defeated Amrinder Singh last time in 2017. This time, the Dera factor may work, because what we are hearing is that BJP had this secret or underhand pact with Akali Dal, that they got all the votes transferred towards BJP. Yes. And the same goes with the Congress party as well.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks very much indeed for that, Ghazali. But let's just now go back to the overall picture, Prannoy, because look at Uttar Pradesh now. 22
well, we are being
leads.
very conservative, and we're taking only properly audited results. I mean, leads from postal votes, and that's showing a very narrow margin. But the other channels and the regional channels are still showing about just under 2/3
for the BJP,
which is heading for 225 with a probability of 10%.
Can I say something?
This is right now 12-10.
Dorab,
yeah. In the other channels, in UP, BJP, I mean, the others are getting BJP is getting 125 odd leads, and the Samajwadi Party is getting 5. And others are 69. I mean, what kind of stuff is this? In Uttarakhand, the Congress has 27 and others have 27. BJP has 1. I think the whole thing is, I don't know where they're getting the figures from. Probably we should capture these figures and put them on later to show where these numbers are coming from. The numbers are just unbelievable. 125 for BJP and 5 for Samajwadi Party.
Just watch NDTV.
Not NDTV, but that's what I'm saying.
That's why just watch us.
Well, let's hope that if you put this up often enough, they will watch it. This kind of garbage.
But by the way,
can we just do an overview, and then we can get quick comments. So now currently Uttar Pradesh 25 BJP, 15 down to SP Alliance 10, a gain of 4. Punjab, Congress 5, down 1. Aam Aadmi Party 4, a gain of 2. Uttarakhand, BJP is at 4, down 3. Congress is at 2, both are gains. Aam Aadmi Party, Prannoy, has just, I mean, again, this is postal ballots, but seems to have been leading in 1 seat. Manipur, interesting. Let's just go back to Manipur for a second, because here you actually have the Congress alliance gaining in 3, a gain of 2. The BJP is actually down 1, contrary to what the exit suggested, which was a clear BJP win. Goa is yet to open its account. What's happening in Goa? Yes? Your state?
You go and wake up early, you said.
Sorry, who are you talking about? No, not early. Not early. But they go also stop very early, like 1:30 is siesta.
He's actually the only bona fide Goan amongst us. He's virtually moved there.
Interesting thing in UP, we are showing that of the seats that SP is getting, in 4 or 5 of them they're gaining, and they're gaining well, meaning that this would be, we are showing it as a good gain for the SP. 5 seats.
We are, yeah. And everybody's showing it still at about 40%, 40-60.
The fact is that BSP still hasn't opened its account even in terms of leads.
So mysterious.
So actually in this campaign...
BSP is actually down 1 according to the leads.
Yeah. So in this campaign, BSP also their choice of Muslim candidates has looked more and more like a special purpose vehicle.
Right.
They haven't looked like they were out to...
No, it's very mysterious what kind of game Mayawati is playing in this election.
No,
You know, this will be her 5th consecutive defeat.
What's the mystery?
There's no mystery.
What's the mystery?
But I'm saying that, you know, does she effectively want to abdicate her entire political identity in Uttar Pradesh and give it up completely?
Notice how the BJP started talking up the BSP.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
because
last
it's
phase.
the easy
Amit Shah
enemy.
actually came and said that
Yes.
Mayawati is going to do better
I
than
have
many
never
people.
heard in any election one party saying its opponent is going to do well.
Yes.
Never
In
before.
fact, in fact, we did an
Because
analysis.
he reads your analysis and realizes IOU is important. You wanted to reduce IOU, split the
It's
opposition.
my analysis.
Smart
Okay.
tactics.
But you know, on Punjab, I have a deja vu moment. In Punjab in 2017, I was there and it was exactly the same. Everybody was projecting an AAP victory. We said AAP would sweep in Malwa. We said the entire machinery is working for AAP. But at the last moment, the BJP voters and Akali voters transferred their votes to the Congress and the AAP didn't win.
See, there are many theories of why that happened.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
also
you were
with
also
you
there.
in there in
Yeah,
Punjab.
you were there.
and
Yeah, you
so
were there.
was,
Yeah.
I think the most knowledgeable person I know in
On
Punjab
earth.
is Shekhar.
I
Amazing.
didn't say AAP is winning. I printed word.
No, you
I
one of
did.
those,
No, no,
you
no,
know,
no, no,
I thought they would
you know
win
what you
well.
say?
I thought they would
Anything
win
can
in
happen.
2017.
No, I didn't
All
say-
depends.
I thought they would win very well.
I did because
But there's so
Punjab,
many theories.
Punjab has a complexity about 40% Hindu vote. I mean, even the Sikhs are insecure about what happened in the past, but Hindus in Punjab are very insecure about what happened in the past. And the Aam Aadmi Party last time was keeping the kind of company which once
last
word
time,
spread.
yeah.
In the last week, a lot of the
Yeah.
Sikhs voted against them because they don't want to go back
This
to the
time also they tried
look
saying that
but
Aam
look
Aadmi
at what
Party
happened
was
this time as
terrorist.
well. Last minute,
But
that
in the
Kumar
last 3
Vishwas
days,
comes out.
yeah,
Kumar
yeah,
Vishwas
last
comes
3
out and
days
makes
before
a so-called khulasa about Kejriwal saying, "I am happy to be the head of a separatist country." Again, you could dismiss that
I
as,
don't
as
think anybody takes
political
that
dark
seriously.
art. No, but I'm just saying it was similar to kind of the
Yeah.
attempt last time to
paint AAP as
paint
extremist
AAP as
and
an extremist
Khalistani.
party.
Yeah, but
But,
Punjab
okay,
Okay,
let's
so
just
we've
go-
had two
Yes, sorry.
theories. One was yours, one is that they didn't want to go back to the past, and I have a third theory, and that is on the ground there was amazing support for the Aam Aadmi Party, but it had no organization and it could not get its support to the polling booths, which is crucial in elections. You've got to ensure the turnout, as you know, Gilles, turnout of your supporters, and it just couldn't do that, and that
But they
I don't know whether it's improved its organization now.
So
Sorry?
according to
No, they don't. They don't have it again this year. Actually,
that's-
one of the big mystery about AAP in this election is that they haven't spent the last 5 years building a formidable ground organization.
And the
They've
BJP
come-
is exactly the opposite.
They've discarded all their previous candidates. They've hardly retained anybody who contested 5 years ago on AAP ticket. They've really tried the best to come with a fresh face in Punjab, but at the cost of building an organization. And also, if AAP wins Punjab, they would do so without real ground organization, which belies everything we know about Indian politics.
I would slightly push back against that, because I travelled in Punjab, and it's not as if to say that there wasn't a ground presence. It was there. It may not have been sizable. Also, Raghav Chadha, who's been camping there for 2 years, was telling me yesterday that they have presence in almost 15,000. There's not a booth concept, the pinned concept in Punjab. He said we have managed to get a ground presence, but there was one mystery about Punjab, which still I haven't heard a clear answer, which is the huge turnout drop in Punjab, almost 6 percentage points. A big chunk of that was in Malwa, which is AAP's stronghold. And I think Baj had sent me that numbers which showed that it was particularly in the AAP seats which saw the maximum drop. And that's something which has been a kind of X factor in this election. But Prannoy, we also have with us our colleague Saurabh Shukla, who's joining us from Lucknow. If we can just go across to him. Saurabh, so at the moment, let's just take a look at where we stand with Uttar Pradesh. It's all changing fast, fascinating. So 31 leads, BJP 19, a drop of 3, Samajwadi Party Alliance 12, a gain of 6. And the BSP and the Congress are at the moment 0. What are you picking up, Saurabh, from where you are?
As of now, I just called the chief spokesperson of Samajwadi Party that some reaction. They said that Samajwadi Party is not going to speak before 12 p.m. They're instructing their poll agents to be at counting centers. They've sent a team of lawyers to these counting centers. They are saying that we are quiet. We are still monitoring the situation closely. One more thing, the most important thing I would like to say, just Sagarika was mentioning about BSP. I was in East UP, Kushinagar, and there is a Muslim candidate from that seat. So I've asked Muslim voters there that there's a strong Muslim candidate in your constituency from BSP, but why are you not voting for BSP? So that person opened his cell phone, Vasu, and showed me a video of Mayawati, a statement where Mayawati has said to stop BJP, to stop Samajwadi Party, she will or she can support to stop BJP, I beg your pardon, to stop Samajwadi Party, she can support BJP. So Muslims were showing those video clips. That is why in 2017, Mayawati did get Muslim votes, but I did not see division in Muslim votes this time in Uttar Pradesh. So as of now, Samajwadi Party is monitoring the situation very closely. They have, in fact, they are coming out and they are instructing their supporters not to stay here. They are asking their supporters to go to counting centers to monitor the situation as of now. Samajwadi Party State President Naresh Uttam late night, they were at Election Commission in Lucknow complaining about administration in the places of Sonbhadra, Varanasi and Azamgarh for that matter. So as of now, Samajwadi Party is monitoring the situation very closely. They are very hopeful. In fact, a close source of mine in Samajwadi Party in Uttar Pradesh, that they will gain well in East UP if we compare, if they are saying that they'll gain well in East UP, then West UP. So as of now, they are monitoring the situation very closely. They are in touch with the lawyers and their focus is totally on counting centers. They are saying they've asked their agents not to leave counting center till the time Election Commission counts the last vote. Even it like 11 p.m., 12 p.m. in the night, they are going to be at counting center. Vasu.
Saurabh, for that. So that's Saurabh Shukla there reporting from Uttar Pradesh. And now finally we have the first lead for Goa, and it is a lead for the Congress. If you can just get that up on the screen. So it's a lead for the Congress. The Congress is gaining one, and I think this might be the Kalangut seat, but we'll just have to have a look. But this is the first lead that is coming in
away. You know the
from
exact
Goa.
Geography of Goa, especially Kalangut.
I mean, yeah, it's just a random guess.
Vasu interviewed somebody there.
Just a random guess.
Polling. You were doing polling yourself, right?
No, this is Michael Lobo. So, as they say, you know, he's the king of North Goa. But let's go across Prannoy. We've got with us a big newsmaker, Harish Rawat, the Congress's man of the moment in Uttarakhand, is with us. Over to you. Harish Rawat Sahab, you're live with us. Thank you very much indeed, Harish ji, for joining us. we are now seeing 12 leads. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. 12 leads in Uttarakhand. It's quite tight, Harish ji. Kaante ki takkar.
I'm confident that we are going to form the government. People have mandated us to give a very stable and a good government for these 5 years.
Right. Are you getting any data information currently that is different from what the channels are showing? What's your internal information? Honestly, unbiased.
हमको अच्छा बहुमत मिल रहा है. मैंने एक इनिशियल रिएक्शन में पोलिंग के बाद कहा था कि 48 के आसपास सीटें आएंगी और उसी के अराउंड जो है सीटें हमारी आएंगी. आप जरा सा देखिएगा. और जिन एरियाज से हमको सपोर्ट मिलने जा रहा है वो एरियाज के अभी नतीजे अभी रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं हुए.
So what was the main issue that caused your gain? You're certainly gaining. Whether you're going to gain enough or not, we'll see in a few minutes from now. What is the main issue that went against the BJP and in your favor in this election?
For these 5 years, people have given them the not only absolute majority, a tyrannical majority to the BJP, 57 out of 70, and वो बड़े घमंडी हो गए. तो ये इस चुनाव में उत्तराखंड की जनता ने जो है भाजपा के अहंकार को पराजित करेंगे और उत्तराखंडियत जीतेगी. ये उत्तराखंडियत और भाजपा के अहंकार के बीच का चुनाव है. प्रणय जी, आप देखिएगा, लोकतंत्र में हमेशा अहंकार हारा है और जनता जीती है. और इस समय उत्तराखंड की जनता उत्तराखंडियत के लिए संघर्ष कर रही है. और इस चुनाव में हम तो निमित्त थे, लड़ाई तो उत्तराखंड की जनता लड़ रही थी. और जिस तरीके से महाभारत में कृष्ण ने अर्जुन से कहा, तू तो बाण चला, केवल गांडीव संधान कर, बाकी तो उत्तराखंड की जनता ने कहा कांग्रेस के लोगों से, तुम्हारे पास साधन है नहीं है, कुछ किस स्थिति में हो वो महत्वपूर्ण नहीं है, तुम अपना कर्तव्य करो, बाकी तुमको जीत दिलाना, तुमको अच्छा बहुमत दिलाना हमारा दायित्व है. और लोग एक अच्छी सरकार बनाने के लिए, एक मजबूत सरकार बनाने के लिए, जन आकांक्षा की सरकार बनाने के लिए हमको स्पष्ट बहुमत देंगे. मुझे अपने उत्तराखंड के लोगों पर विश्वास है.
जी, लेकिन हरीश जी ये बताइए दैट you talk of Ahankar, but the fact is that if you go by the pattern of Uttarakhand, it should have been the Congress's turn comfortably, right? Because Uttarakhand has changed hands every time since the state was formed. But it has now become a kaante ki takkar, it has become a close fight. The exits are saying edge to the BJP. Why? So what do you think? I mean, again, somewhere do you feel that Congress, there were problems, there was infighting. You were very public about how upset you were during the campaign.
No, so वो सब चीज़ें जब बड़ी लड़ाई होती है, सब चीज़ें बहुत पृष्ठभूमि में चली जाती है. इस समय उत्तराखंड के स्वाभिमान के साथ साथ लोकतंत्र और संवैधानिक लोकतंत्र को बचाने की लड़ाई भी थी, सामाजिक न्याय को बचाने की लड़ाई थी. इसलिए कांग्रेस के लोगों ने, किसी लीडर ने भी अपने पर्सनल उसको आगे नहीं रखा, बल्कि जो है जीतना है, जनता के लिए जीतना है, इस लड़ाई को उस हिसाब से लड़ा है. और हम जीतेंगे. और देखिएगा इवेंचुअली जो है there will be a comfortable majority for Congress.
So tell us one line in your campaigning, in your speech, one line that got the biggest response. Deliver it to us, that one line. The biggest response.
हमने जब कहा कि उत्तराखंडियत की रक्षा के लिए आपको वोट करना है, तो लोग जो है हाथ खड़े करके कहते थे हम उत्तराखंडियत की रक्षा के लिए वोट करने जा रहे हैं. तो दैट वाज द पंच लाइन. लोगों ने उत्तराखंडियत की रक्षा के लिए ये वोट किया है.
Right.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Just one question, Harishji, to another state. No, 1 second. Just one question about another state where actually you were very closely involved to the point where you almost, couldn't take over the campaign in Uttarakhand, which is Punjab, where you were in charge. At the moment, out of about 15 leads in Punjab, it seems Congress and AAP are almost neck and neck. What is your reading of Punjab?
it may be a very
Okay.
form the government in Punjab. From right beginning, I was
Okay, I think
Channi took over as the chief minister. I was confident. I was saying this that the Congress is going to form the government, and I'm confident.
Okay, I think.
Okay, meanwhile,
right, I think a little
thank
bit
you
of an
very
audio
much,
issue.
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you. Our
thank
audio
you,
is a
Harish
bit shaky. Thank you very much, sir. And it's just, as we speak, AAP has taken the lead in Punjab. Again, early days, but as we said, don't take those earlier results or leads, postal votes seriously. Things are changing. And the Congress is down from
5.
11 to 6.
Yeah, so that's a big drop.
Big drop, yeah.
So it's interesting that when one talks about what one heard traveling across these states, in Punjab it was the one state where you clearly heard Badlav, where you ask people what do they want and they say Badlav. When you talk in Uttar Pradesh, they would say Vikalp, alternative. What is the choice? What is the Vikalp? Do we really have an alternative or not? There was a little bit more of a hesitancy. In Punjab it was very clear, it meant Badlav, and then you push and said Badlav is who? Most cases it would say AAP. Okay, so should we just again...
What do you make of the trend so far?
Well, the trend, well, again, it's difficult to speak about trends, but something that I find interesting is that SP is not entirely absent, from those post-ballot indications, which is interesting because those who vote through postal ballots, government employees, army, police, rather middle-class profile, are not traditional, supporters or voters of the Samajwadi Party. So let's remain cautious.
Yeah, that's very interesting you should say that. Of course, there is this OPS, the old pension scheme, which a lot of the,
that might have
the
had some
Samajwadi Party
appeal among these categories of voters.
May affect them, but you're right. They're not traditionally a Samajwadi Party.
That's right.
Can I make a point, please?
Yes, please.
There are postal votes in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is predominantly an army state. And in those, the Congress is ahead, which is surprising. That, you would expect an army state postal votes to be more for the BJP, but they appear to be marginally more for the Congress.
Right. By the way, Dhorab, in Punjab, now the AAP is shooting ahead.
Yes, and Congress is down. It's going up at the cost of the Congress, not anybody else's cost.
Down from 16 to 6.
But only the Congress actually has seats to lose. I mean, the Akalis had very little seats.
Vasu, on that point about Harish Rawat, I thought that was very apt what you said, that he is the most popular leader in Uttarakhand and he spent all of 2021 firefighting in Punjab.
Yes.
So instead of using him in Uttarakhand, again, Congress pressing self-destruct button. Instead of using him in Uttarakhand, where he's the leader, he's all the time in Punjab trying to firefight over there.
So who was lighting the fire in Punjab? That's the more important question.
Right.
The Punjab Congress Party had its own pyromania going on.
Right.
In fact, he would be sent back to Uttarakhand and then he had to be called back because there was yet another Channi Sidhu crisis which he had to come to put out.
That defies all logic. His home state is going to the polls and he's in some other state trying to get things organized there.
Which was also my question to him, that while it's all very well for the Congress to say we're neck and neck with the BJP in Uttarakhand, it should have actually been an absolute sweep for the Congress given the pattern of the state, but instead it's now turned into a close fight. And again, if you look at Goa, if you can put the numbers up, look at that. Now it's actually out of 6 leads, the BJP 3 again won. The Congress is actually down, if I'm not mistaken, it's down 3. And others are gaining at 2. So in states where it's the Congress as the main opposition, it's
I think in Punjab it's looking more and more like Aam Aadmi Party. I know it's still...
It's not a deja vu moment then.
Yeah, but it never took the lead. It never even had postal votes last time.
Yeah.
But this is pretty difficult to reverse, but only time will tell.
But if one traveled through Punjab, one got a sense of the complete disaffection that most people had with the established parties. They just felt they'd had enough of the Akalis, they'd had enough of the Congress. These parties were seen as corrupt, deeply invested in the political economy of the state. Every big leader is either a liquor baron, a transport baron, a real estate baron. And so when you ask them why, we have heard AAP has done good work in Delhi. So that filtering down of AAP's, the free electricity, the education, that seemed to have travelled much more than perhaps last time, where there were just a few years in government. Now they've been in power for at least 9 years. So
people have had time to see the Delhi model.
No, I still have my theory about last time. They were extremely popular everywhere you went. I mean, at that point, I put it at about a 60% chance of them winning.
I know you did.
They just couldn't get their voters to the polling
But
booths.
it was a shock, remember, for all of us last time. Because we all thought
I mean, on ground, the rallies, talk to a farmer sitting in the field, we saw a whole lot playing cards, went up to them, they all up. Didn't reflect.
But
so this time they seem to have cashed in.
This year's situation is also a good reminder that sweeping victories can also be the product of voter disaffection rather than upsurge of popular support. This is something we've seen before, famously in UP in 2007, when Mayawati won a majority with the smallest turnout ever recorded in UP at 46%. And so now the fact that we have turnout down by 5-6% in Punjab can actually create also these effects. So it can also create, therefore, a distorted vision about the reason for the upsurge of AAP, right? Of course, they are doing well, but it may not be the kind of popular support that we traditionally associate.
I think you're right. As Vasu was saying, just disaffection with the
you can have a sweep without a wave in a way if you want to.
Right.
And they're gaining in every region. I mean, Malwa they were strong in, but now they're getting in Maja and they're gaining in Doab.
So if you actually look at what they've done this time, if you see the selection of candidates as well, they've not gone with the traditional model of just only having political novices.
But a lot of former Congress,
there are a lot of former Congress and even former Akali. So particularly in regions like Maja, which has a very strong, the Sikh sentiment, the Panthik, where the AAP was weak. If you see some of the candidates there, they are Congress veterans. Again in Doaba, the same. So it's a different AAP now. It's not the same AAP of 2017.
And they hadn't declared a chief ministerial candidate last time, right? This time they've declared a chief ministerial candidate, and Bhagwan Man of the moment, is a popular folk hero figure.
So let's just, I think once again, Prannoy, if we just now want to go back and just look at where we stand now across the states, because you have significant, let's start with Uttar Pradesh if we can, because Uttar Pradesh now you have 103 leads, BJP 66 down 14, SP 30 a gain of 16. How would you again, because
one interesting thing, maybe early days, but it has retained a kind of 2/3, 1/3 ratio, if not a little more than 2/3.
Right.
And 2/3 means about 240 seats. So as I said, exit polls can't all be wrong. And you also said it, Shekhar, didn't you?
I said unlikely that all of them are wrong.
No, so 240 is actually closest to the poll of exit polls, because it was literally that. It was about 240 to the BJP and about 100, 150
remember,
to the SP.
There will be a bump.
Yes, that Shekhar bump. What's that? That towards the final, whoever's in the lead suddenly goes up a little more as the final rounds get counted. So,
but at the moment, though,
it
does look
250,
like
270.
Right, but it does look like BJP is on track to come back in Uttar Pradesh. Let's look at now Punjab, where again this is going to be a big story of the election, is the Aam Aadmi Party. So you have now 34 leads, Prannoy, AAP at 16, gain of 10. Congress down,
I think
14.
Gilles, would you say you could almost call this?
No, absolutely not.
Not yet, too early.
Nice try.
You'll call it tomorrow.
That's going to be my role today. Is it? Nope, nope.
But look at that, interesting.
Gaurav, you going to call any state?
No.
God.
Okay, but
UPS.
Huh?
Or UPS.
UPS.
UPS, calling UP.
Okay. Why not Punjab?
Yes, I think so. You're right. Because the loss is only for the Congress, and it's lost to everybody. Congress is losing to everybody. So the question is, I think it's out, over and out for the Congress.
Actually, at the moment, Prannoy, Congress is not ahead in any of the states. It's losing Punjab, it's behind in Uttarakhand, it is behind in Goa significantly, and we haven't seen the Manipur number yet, but I suspect, in Manipur again it's behind. Prannoy, Abhishek Singhvi, of the Congress, senior leader, Supreme Court advocate, is with us. Good morning, Abhishek.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're not.
Morning. Good morning.
We're missing your usual smile. Is that because you're also looking at the same numbers?
I think you timed my entry after your last comment about the Congress.
I was just doing a summary.
Let me just start with a few points. See, you people have been in the game very long, especially Prannoy. So you know very well that the time to do these smiles and sad looks is 11 o'clock.
Right.
Earliest 10:30, but possibly 11 is the correct time. Number one. Number two, I had said 1 month ago on television, so it's on the record, that I would put Punjab, Uttarakhand and Goa in the Congress kitty. And then I had said before the exit polls that unfortunately Punjab is a disappointment, but I would still stand by my Uttarakhand and Goa prognosis. And I would repeat that. I'd be very surprised if we lost Uttarakhand. And I think we will be the single largest, though in a hung situation, in Goa. And I'm saying that today morning. So let's wait and watch. Punjab has been a disappointment because, and that I said before the exit polls, in fact, that because I think two factors work there against us. One, there is what we call static of politics or of media. There was a certain amount of chick going on, which might not have any real substantive value, but it creates an impression in the mind of the people that there is a lack of a united front. And second and more important, I think, was a feeling that we've given a chance to everyone. Let's try this new entity this time. We gave them we did not let them come in 2017. So there was a newness without baggage, which worked. But that is a disappointment. And I think it was something which I indirectly commented after closure of polls and before the exit polls. As far as Uttarakhand is concerned, I still believe that we should make it, although possibly narrow. And Goa, provided we are able to manage post-poll stolen majorities tactics by the BJP, I think we should be able to hang on as the single largest with support from elsewhere.
If this kind of dismal forecast for the Congress party happens, and there's a pretty good chance that it will happen, what is the future of the Congress party?
Well, I mean, if what I said happens is not so dismal as if what Vasu and you said just now, that we lose all 5. I mean, you have 4 of the 5 states with the BJP. And if the Congress hangs on to Uttarakhand and Goa, it's not so dismal. But yes, if we lose all 5, then it is going to be very difficult and very sad. And we need some, complete kind of revamps and reworkings and rewirings that I think we'll have to await. But I think it's no cause for that immediate dismal scenario. I'm, as I said, still in the morning today at 9:30 or so, still hopeful, confident about Uttarakhand and Goa.
When you say revamp, I'm very glad you didn't use the word introspection.
Yeah, I deliberately avoided it.
No, revamp sounds and rewiring. That's a huge impact on an ancient party.
These are adjectives. They go along with introspection, no doubt. I think there will be. I mean, I don't think there's need to be agreeing with you about this dismal scenario, but I'm only hypothesizing with you. Right. In case there is that bad a situation, don't think that parties do not kind of analyze every bit. And I think it will need and I think more important than anything else, at the ground level, at the local level, at the middle level, more than anything else, is not just, as is commonly believed and misconceived, a leadership issue. It is something which requires a change at every level. And secondly, it needs our elections to be kept on time. Punctually, they've been advertised for August or so, roughly, August, September. And I think that needs to be done. And we need to simply, gear ourselves up. What more can I say?
But Abhishek, when you say that, it is that goes down to the local level, I mean, surely there has to be leadership accountability. When you talked of chick in Punjab, it wasn't chick, it was the state president fighting with the chief minister. Now, if you can't control that as leadership, surely there's a crisis at the very top.
No, I think the leadership showed great decisiveness. Captain Amrinder Singh, who is a dear friend and a very senior leader, certainly had lost the support of the MLAs. That's a factum you can't ignore. The leadership took a very strong, maybe an unpleasant decision that he had to be changed. Thereafter, all of you applauded the choice of Channi, each one of you.
Oh, we to applaud. I think Sagrika had a word for it. What did you say?
I don't
Congress
mind.
committing suicide?
Press the self-destruct button.
Press the self-destruct button. That's what
No, I'll tell you. Okay, I don't mean you individually, but I think generally there was, and even privately our opponent said that it was a good move to have someone who has come up from the ground as the Chief Minister candidate. But what happened after that was two things that I said. I think people spoke too much on the media. That's not necessary. It didn't score anything. And no real change was made with that. And that, I think, was to some extent the individuals who spoke too much. And that's what I euphemistically called chick. But I think above all was the feeling that here is a party which has not got any baggage, at least in Punjab. They may not succeed, give them a chance. That combined with the chick had, I mean, if these polls are correct, and I think the polls are unidirectional, the quantum or the figures, the spread may be different, but the polls are indicating in one direction for AAP.
Right. Well, it wasn't just anybody doing chick. It was your party chief. It was your state party chief. So what does it say for the leadership of your party that you invite the political equivalent of a human bomb into your party and let it tick all the time? So he wasn't just fighting with the previous chief minister, who you say, removal of who you say was a very wise step. He was also undermining the new chief minister all the time. So, I mean, this is really Abel Mujhe Maar.
Let me tell you, and you better, Shekhar, that Navjot Sidhu has outstanding qualities. He's, after all, a very solid political player. He's possibly winning Amritsar against a lot of opposition. He has great qualities of the ground and attraction of the people. Along with that, you are right, he may have spoken out of turn. That's why I am saying that we are in a pre-exit poll situation. I did say that we have slid down in Punjab from the high we were on about 6 weeks ago. There is no doubt about it. But there was, I think, overall, it's not a question of party discipline there. I think the party was very decisive in the way they announced Channi. They got them together on the same stage. They held hands. So, I mean, there was a lot of, after all, everybody has personal ambition. So it's not easy to first remove a person like Captain Amrinder and then after some time to declare Mr. Channi. And that was done along with Mr. Sidhu. But which of the two factors was more, the chick factor or the newness without baggage element of AAP? I don't know. But it did slide. It did slide.
This is Sagarika Ghosh here. How can your party high command escape responsibility for what's happened to you in Punjab? I mean, this is the one state that stood by you through the Modi wave. Your party high command, sacked Mr. Amrinder Singh, appointed Mr. Channi. We saw the high-profile press conference that Mr. Rahul Gandhi held. How can your party top leadership escape responsibility for what's happened in Punjab?
Sagarika, first of all, the party leadership does not escape responsibility for any result in any state. They come out front and say, yes, we own up to the responsibility, we've lost. Any loss in any election, totality, collectively or individually in Punjab, is owned up. It's been done hundreds of times by whether it's Rahul Gandhi or Sonia Gandhi. So there is no question of not owning up. They take the bullet in the chest. However, we are now analyzing reasons for it. I don't think you could do this campaign by sidelining Mr. Sidhu, which is the oblique suggestion coming from you, not you, but from NDTV just now in the program. I think, yes, we chose the right chief minister, but we wanted him to carry along, and he did go along. But I think the feeling in the media was the static dissonance, if I may say so.
Thank you very much. I'm going to welcome Yogendra Yadav, and I just do want to say that even behind your back, I say that you're the finest cephalogist I have ever in this country and I've ever met. Even I met you when you were, I think, 12 years old. So even then you were.
Brain drain ho gaya thoda.
He would say he's scaling bigger.
Changed, Dr. Roy. I mean, 20 years ago, when I used to come to this studio, on the day of counting, there was a sense that you were entering a mandir, mandir of democracy. Something very big is going to happen. Gradually, that mandir turned into a maidan. We were doing sports commentary, ye jeet raha hai, aage hai, piche hai. And frankly, today I feel it's a mandi. We're discussing, absolutely. What are we discussing? Mr. Shiv Kumar is in Goa, planning, resorts are being arranged in Jaipur, and Mr. Vijay Varghese is in Dehradun. What exactly are we discussing? Don't we know what we are talking about? So it feels like a very different kind of counting day.
There was a woman selling fish on the roadside, and I went to say, look, I'll come tomorrow and buy it from you. She said, no, tomorrow elections. So I said, so I said, tomorrow's elections, voting. She said, no, not elections. Tomorrow's Chor Bazaar. This is
in Goa?
Yeah. I didn't want to name the state.
No, but tell me, buying fish on the roads.
Look at it's now 2/3, 1/3 in UP, and it's been consistent now. Gilles will only call it tomorrow, he says. Punjab is 2/3, 1/3, or 3/4 actually to Aam Aadmi Party. Would you call those two states now?
I don't know, Dr. Roy. You would know what proportion of this is postal ballot. I'm not too sure of that.
Well, we have in UP 26 round leads.
Yeah.
BJP is 18, SP is 7, BSP is 1.
That's right. So I guess that's the only thing we should look at. The other numbers are sort of inflated. The postal ballots, it's very hard to say what they might indicate. But so far, we haven't seen anything that goes against the expectations given by exit polls.
Right.
In Uttar Pradesh, in Punjab, Uttarakhand, everything seems to be going along the lines. So much maligned exit polls may not be all those bad, but maybe Gilles would have a better idea because he keeps much better, closer eye on these things.
Sorry, just to jump in for 1 second though, even if it's Goa, just look at what's happened in Goa. 18 leads, BJP 11, gain of 4. Congress is now 4, down 7.
But they're all postal.
I know, all postal again could change, but I'm just saying,
Punjab is more interesting, where AAP has 14 leads, not postal, and the others have 6.
And postal or rounds?
Rounds. First round, 14 leads to AAP and about 6 to the others.
So Goa is at the moment it's all postal, is it?
It's all postal except 1.
Mr. Singhvi,
sorry, they just changed. Now you've got 11-4.
I think he casually, Mr. Singhvi casually said euphemism. I thought much of what he said was euphemism. I really, I'm sure senior leaders like him would be aware of the nature of challenge that they face today. So they cannot use anti-incumbency. They cannot use incumbency. I mean, there are states where the governments use incumbency to their advantage. They can't use that. In opposition, you can use anti-incumbency to your advantage. They don't seem to be able to use that. And if they do as badly as it seems, and if Aam Aadmi Party wins Punjab, there is a very serious challenge of implosion of the Congress party.
That's what
it may not happen overnight. It may be sort of slow bleeding, but there is something very serious happening. And I can only think and expect that Congress leaders would be aware of what they face today. It's not one more election. And I'm not too sure about taking the bullets on chest. I mean, it was a very nice metaphor. But I don't know. I mean, if that happened, things would have changed in that party considerably.
But Yogendra, it's not even something which is likely to be something that will happen after. If you look at the implosion, it's already taking place as we speak. So if you look at Goa, for example, there was a wholesale exodus of the Congress to the BJP. Similarly in Meghalaya, where there's been a wholesale exodus to the Trinamool Congress. So the implosion, the attrition, look at Uttar Pradesh, where the Congress has steadily lost leaders, even though Priyanka Gandhi was leading the campaign. So that process is already on the move, and it's quite likely that you will see this exacerbated if this is, if these results are, this points in this direction.
I think in Congress party, the search for scapegoats has already started. And this time the scapegoat might just be the silly Indian voter who doesn't know what's good for them, right? Because Congress party is never going to blame its top leadership, which has no formal position in the party. it's an incredible party. It's an army without a general.
Do you think the party is going to split after this?
I don't
is
think
it at
a
its lowest
split.
point since post-independence Congress?
Sorry,
right now?
yeah, but sure, I think that could well be the case.
Congress at its lowest point since independence.
Quantitatively, I wouldn't know. Maybe Gilles can think about it for 5 minutes. But in terms of overall sense,
no, it is
probably at the lowest right now.
Even Indira Gandhi, when she was defeated, was not never went
even in
so
77, the Congress actually
got
has
over 35% of the vote.
Exactly, yeah. This must be the lowest point.
So, I was just looking at all this. We can look at it from the point of view of Congress party, this party, that party. Someone goes down, someone else comes up. But if you look at it from 2024 point of view, Congress going down the way it is, and another alternative emerging, which is probably not in a position to take on the BJP in the next 2 years, that looks like almost the perfect recipe BJP may have asked for.
Yes.
So that's what we should be thinking about.
But Yogendra, for the past 10 years now, we've seen Congress vote is intact, but it doesn't come to Congress. So wherever an alternative emerges, Congress voters go to that alternative. We saw that happen with AAP in Delhi. Now it's happening with AAP in Punjab. TMC took the Congress vote in Bengal. Jagan took the Congress vote in Andhra. So wherever somebody emerges to take the Congress vote does not go to BJP. The Congress vote goes there. So the failure to retain its voters is with the Congress party. So disillusionment in the Congress party is now massive. In fact, leaders like even the 2 states Congress will be left with, that is Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, again the High Command has not been discouraging dissidents. Both chief ministers are always kept on the edge. Right? High Command gives them more time. They played the same game in Punjab. They were not giving time to Amrinder all this while. They were giving time to Sidhu, knowing that Sidhu had spent most of his political life in the BJP. And if they had to remove Amrinder, they could have done it peacefully, with some dignity. They could have done it earlier.
Right.
They could have said that's because we wanted Dalit chief minister. Dalit chief minister was an afterthought.
But overall, I do want to, just getting back to currently what's happening, I do want to re-emphasize what I said last night. The polls are right.
And
so far.
On Punjab, I think we can call it. Will you call it now? We have got one third of the leads. The 38 have come in. As AAP has 28 or 74% of them.
Call Punjab, call UP, I would say.
Yeah.
In Punjab, all the indications pointed in one direction, and it seems that they could have a sweep of Malwa of the kind that they had in Delhi.
That is what the India Today Axis poll showed. They showed 63 out of 69, which is like Delhi, exactly.
Right. And then all they need is a little support from Majha. Probably in Doaba they would pick only a couple of seats, but in Majha they're doing reasonably well. Sorry?
They're picking 6 in Doaba.
6 in Doaba?
Yeah.
And this is actual rounds?
No, this is a mixture, but they're getting 29 in Malwa and 14 in the other 2.
That's very interesting because Doaba, they themselves concede is their weakest area. That's a high Dalit area. There's the Channi factor there. It's the NRI belt. So they were telling me that a lot of young people study abroad. So that's actually a weak area. Majha and Malwa, Malwa of course, Majha also, but Doaba. So if they're picking up in Doaba as well, that's huge.
Yes, so Punjab seems to be more or less clear, going along the expected
Punjab and
line.
UP,
in Uttar Pradesh, how many real rounds do we have, Baj?
Much fewer, very few.
Okay, so can we say that's breaking news, that we're calling Uttar Pradesh?
No.
I'm looking, and Punjab.
Now
we're not.
I only listen to Yogendra.
See, it's a situation, we are in a situation where either all the exit polls are right or they're wrong.
All wrong.
What we don't know is the amplitude of the victory of the BJP in UP.
I would say UP they're heading for over 250 at the moment at this rate.
No, can I say something?
Yes.
No, can I say something?
Yes, Dorab.
In Punjab, Congress seems to be in a free fall. It's lost most, it's 31 down, holding 16. I mean, it might become the third party if the Akalis don't follow it up from being the leading party. It is such a big fall. I mean, just free fall.
Shocking.
No secret.
Right.
In fact,
But that's not really a surprise, because as we were just discussing, the Punjab in Congress was a complete train wreck. But
Train wreck, self-destruction button, and you said?
Harakiri.
Bell
I
mujhe
said
maar.
an embedded,
Bell
human,
mujhe maar. Correct.
an embedded human bomb.
Oh God.
But on Kejriwal though, because a large part of this would go to him. He has been the face of the Punjab campaign.
Yeah.
Of course, at the last minute they introduced Bhagwat Mann. So speaking to our point about national alternatives to the Congress, and there are so many contenders, right? Kaun banega contender. So is he now emerging? I mean, if they win Punjab, he now emerges as a big player on the national scene.
That's how Aam Aadmi Party has already started projecting him. I think there are many paradoxes here at work. On the one hand, it is clearly a vote against the entire political establishment of Punjab. People are just sick and tired of this establishment.
Yeah, I mean, it is a state with such great potential, and look at where it is now.
That's right.
It was doing brilliantly 2 decades ago, and it's just gone downhill.
Yeah.
For people who are just the most entrepreneurial, hardworking, and the leadership has ruined that state. Whichever
unemployment
part.
rate in the country.
Yeah. So, it's a vote against the establishment. And what do they choose? They choose the first party that looks like an alternative. Now, it's no secret that in the last 5 years, Aam Aadmi Party was a divided house in Punjab. They began with 20 MLAs. I think they seeded 10 on the way. The party wasn't into any agitation on the ground. They didn't manage to do very much in the last 5 years in opposition. They didn't play opposition at all. And yet the people go and vote. So that's really a certain kind of desperation which is setting in. One can only hope that Aam Aadmi Party rises to the occasion and takes up the responsibility of the kind that the Punjabis have so lovingly given it.
But really the big story though, Prannoy, Uttar Pradesh. I mean, no party has won Uttar Pradesh twice
in a row.
I think for almost, 3.5 years. And a chief minister to serve 2 successive, the same chief minister to serve 2 successive terms. I was asking Gilles this earlier. He said perhaps since the time of G.B. Pant.
Yes, no chief minister has served 2 consecutive terms, and actually no chief minister has ever been re-elected after serving, any term almost. You have to go back to pre-independence and post-independence with G.B. Pant serving 2 terms. After that, until this year, the average term duration of chief ministers of UP is 2 years and 19 days.
Right.
Right?
2 years.
So from G.B. Pant to Yogi Adityanath.
But would you say,
what a journey.
that we will look back at this election, and particularly UP, as a turning point in Indian electoral history? And this is going to have a huge impact on the Lok Sabha elections 2 years from now.
Something very significant is happening. I mean, if anyone told you that there is a country, let's forget a state, someone told you there is a country in which a few lakh people died a year before, they did not have oxygen, that corpses were floating in the river, that there was a massive agitation against the government thereafter, that unemployment is very high, so is inflation, and that country votes back the ruling party, you would be you would sit back and say, oh, what's happening? Did I miss something? That's a sense that, something I think very different is happening in Uttar Pradesh. I traveled, after a long time I traveled, freed of all the responsibility of psephology or politics, free from Kisan Andolan. And the conversation was something to this effect. Everyone said, Mehngai bahut hai sab. Kadwa tel, what's happening to cooking oil, don't you know the price?
Sabzi.
Berojgari, I lost my job, my son is sitting at home, nothing is happening. Chutta janwar, stray animals, and you can have a 5-10 minute discourse thereafter. You don't need to speak a word. They would tell you what's been happening with Chutta janwar, how troublesome their life is, raat ko baithna padta hai machan mein apne khet ke upar, and so on and so forth. COVID, yes, people died. Oxygen, no, we didn't get it. Hospital, no, we didn't get it. How has the government performed? Sarkar theek hai. Yogi अच्छे चीफ मिनिस्टर है, Now, what is it? This is something that we need to really understand.
But you know,
it's easy to say it's hypocrisy. Someone in the evening would say, all these things and that the government wins, it must be EVM. Or someone else would draw opposite conclusion. We have won, therefore we must have worked very well. I think we need to see something else which is...
No, so this is what I was saying earlier, that this is a I was saying this is the fifth phase of Indian politics.
Yeah,
Prannoy has these phases.
Article,
This is the fifth phase. But just, Sagrika, just one point on that, which is that, and this is a point Prannoy has made in the past, that when you talk about these issues, people need to have a solution to the issues. The political party, the rival party, has to have a solution. So when it comes to jobs, huge problem, the Samajwadi Party didn't have a clear solution. Again, when you talk of stray cattle, everyone had a complaint against it. None of the opposition parties have been able to come up with a solution because it's a sensitive thing. You can't be seen to be condoning
I just
slaughter.
think that, one thing we're missing here is actually the leadership of Narendra Modi. Yogen mentioned this in his article, which I read, on how you said that all your friends got it wrong. I think that, as Dr. Roy was saying, you've got Mehengai, you've got Chuta Janwar, you've got Berozgari, COVID deaths, still you're voting for the party in power. I mean, that's not rational. It's not. It's ultra rational. It's emotional. It's sort of almost religio-cultural. I mean, and you use the word emotional. And I would say that, is Mr. Modi now in UP no longer a normal politician? He's, normal in the sense that a normal politician would face the challenges of anti-incumbency and all of that. But he's now moved into a kind of a religio sort of
let's just, before we get responses to that, let's just go now out of the studio, get into the field as well. Prannoy, Alok Pandey, our colleague, is joining us from the counting center in Lucknow, where Alok, we can already see, what is that? Is that celebrations? Or BJP office, I beg your pardon, Alok. As the mithai started to be distributed?
Well, yes, very much. I cannot spot a mithai yet, but I can certainly spot these posters and banners that are now being put up by the BJP party workers outside their office in Lucknow. I'll speak to this gentleman also. Sir, आपका क्या नाम है?
मेरा नाम सुशील यादव।
सुशील जी कहाँ से, लखनऊ से हैं बाहर?
हम गुड़गांव से हैं जी।
गुड़गांव से?
जी।
बीजेपी के वर्कर हैं?
बीजेपी के।
अच्छा
जी।
तो चुनाव के लिए यहाँ आए?
बिल्कुल जी, मेन चुनाव के लिए, इसी के लिए, योगी बाबा के लिए।
ये पोस्टर पे एक बार राजेश कैन जस्ट पैन टू दिस पोस्टर, ये कह रहे हैं कि 300 के पार।
बिल्कुल साहब।
देखिए ये जो बाहर टीवी चल रही है उस पर ये तो पता लग रहा है कि बीजेपी आगे है, लेकिन 300 पार कर जाएगी।
बिल्कुल पार जाएगी जी, बिल्कुल पूरे बहुमत से है जी।
अच्छा।
हाँ जी, कोई टक्कर में नहीं है।
अच्छा।
हाँ जी।
This side also and show you. Again, you have the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. You have Yogi Baba 300 के पार, फिर से योगी सरकार. So all of these banners and posters being put over here. I will just move a little to this side and speak to Harish ji here. Sir, एक बात बताइएगा कि अभी तो रुझान इनिशियली हैं, लेकिन क्या संकेत आपको आगे के दिख रहे हैं?
जो संकेत है, जिस तरह से उत्तर प्रदेश की सम्मानित जनता का समर्थन भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मिला है, हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री योगी जी, मोदी जी और योगी जी को जिस तरह का समर्थन है उत्तर प्रदेश की जनता को, 2017 से बड़ी और मजबूत विजय 2022 के विधानसभा चुनाव में उत्तर प्रदेश सम्मानित जनता देने वाली है।
क्या बड़ा फैक्टर रहा है? नरेंद्र मोदी ज्यादा बड़े फैक्टर रहे हैं या आपके मुख्यमंत्री?
मोदी जी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सर्वोच्च नेता है, उन्हीं के नेतृत्व में, उनके मार्गदर्शन में पूरी भारतीय जनता पार्टी काम करती है। हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष जी नड्डा जी और अमित शाह जी, योगी जी, हमारे प्रदेश अध्यक्ष स्वतंत्र देव सिंह जी, पूरा संगठन जो हमारे शीर्ष नेतृत्व का मार्गदर्शन है उसमें काम करता है। और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के एक एक कार्यकर्ता जो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी कार्यक्रम और नीतियां हैं उनका अक्षर सा पालन सुनिश्चित करता है।
अभी तो रुझान है, मान लीजिए पलट गए तो?
बिल्कुल नहीं। हम शुरू से कहते आ रहे हैं, 2017 में मैंने कहा था 300 के पार, पुनः कह रहा हूँ 300 के पार, और 2017 से बड़ी विजय उत्तर प्रदेश की सम्मानित जनता देने वाली है।
आप भी यहीं, मैं भी यहीं, 1-2 घंटे बाद फिर बात करेंगे। So there you have it. The BJP now seems elated and they say that they feel that they're going to get the majority here. I think we need to wait for at least another 2 hours before that can be said with certainty. But yes, the celebrations here at the BJP office very much starting.
Okay, Vasu, I think at the moment Yogendra is calling all states. UP, BJP clearly, Punjab, AAP clearly, Uttarakhand is looking more and more like BJP, Goa is looking more and more like BJP and Manipur BJP.
Extraordinary. Little clarity from Baj on that.
It is like
these Uttarakhand. What is it?
I would say the last three are still uncertain.
Yeah,
because
last
it's
three.
really postal votes, but
That's where we need some clarity.
On Uttarakhand, all the others are showing a much closer fight than we are showing. So we are only given basically postal ballot.
we have they're taking a lot of postal votes.
I mean, AB, one of them is showing 34, 34, one is showing 35, 33. So,
right, but postal votes, we don't know the
we
percentage.
don't know whether theirs are postal
And
or
ours?
Ours are mainly postal.
Postal.
We
then
are
it's still.
So Uttarakhand is still hangs in balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the same is true of UP, I mean of Goa. In UP now you have 81 leads and it's a 2-to-1 thing. It's 54 to 23.
Well, let me just say that if you draw some larger political messages from this, then if this holds, and likely that in key states this will hold, it will take a miracle now to rebuild the Congress party and BSP. So in Indian politics, two major political forces, one of the last 100+ years, one of the last 40 years are now gone, right? And UP now is becoming a two-party race. See, in UP earlier, the reality of UP has changed. You could win UP, you could get a majority with 30% vote share because it was a 3.5 party election. Now with a two-party election, you need a 40+ vote share. And that is where you might find that Akhilesh will maybe even close to double his vote share from last time.
Yeah.
But not enough.
BSP has collapsed. Congress is non-existent.
So you need more.
They don't come together. BSP puts up a Muslim candidate. So you can now see that BSP is finished as of today.
Yeah.
Congress party is finished as of today. Congress party is like that old story about the BMW car. Somebody bought a new BMW. It stopped after 2 days on an autobahn and he called service. And they said, how can a BMW top line model stop after 2 days? So they came and they opened the bonnet and they said, oh God, we forgot to put the engine in the car. And the guy said, but how was it running for 2 days? It's on reputation. Right? So the Congress is a bit like that right now because it still has some vote share, but wherever somebody comes up to take its vote share, it's there for the taking.
Let's also just go across for a second to Ranbir Singh Patania and Anjali Rai. So Ranbir Singh Patania, sorry again.
Sorry for keeping you waiting,
Sorry about that. But
ma'am.
I mean, it's actually, if these numbers hold Ranbir Singh Patania, it's quite remarkable because in this age of anti-incumbencies, you know, governments getting voted out, you have 4 BJP governments to defend. And it looks like the BJP might be holding on to all of them. And the big one, of course, is Uttar Pradesh.
Yes. Sir, I'll start my point with a quote of Rabindranath Tagore. Truth finds this pleasure of pleasure through the antagonism of clouds. We were very, very specific and categoric on it that we may be labeled as a Sibyl who will tear all the leaves of prophecy. A prophecy was being created throughout the length and breadth of Uttar Pradesh that no chief minister in independent India has been able to restore or reinvent, or we could say come back to power. So that's why I'm saying we may be labeled as a Sibyl who has torn all the leaves of prophecy. There were hoaxes with regard to COVID management. Some chit-put, I will say, I'll use the language, chit-put, law and order utterances, despite discussing how we have improved the development indicators in Uttar Pradesh. You see the number of DA and virtually the percentage of crimes against women and virtually the crimes against humanity and human beings also. You see the development and we could say other development indicators. We focused on har khet ko pani. We focused on har ghar ko jal. We focused on har ghar mein जिसे कहते हैं बिल्कुल proper voltage and we could say uninterrupted power supply. We focused on metal road. We focused on developing the governance levels at the grassroots level. But due to certain, we could say, the smoke screens created by the opposition parties and very few vested interests, an attempt was made to shift the pointer of debate somewhere else. Right. So we are again reinforced. We are again, we could say, revindicated that our stand has proved right, sir.
Right, Patania sahab.
Sir,
okay.
Sir,
but we must congratulate you. It's just an amazing victory. It's probably one of the biggest election day victories I've seen in a long time. Yogendra, wouldn't you say? I mean, this is just amazing consolidation and a historic moment for the Congress, that they're really, it's a matter of survival, and whether it'll continue or not, a lot depends on what it does now, because
states where they were incumbent. That's indeed a very strong performance. And it would also mean that they have kind of wiped out the setback that they had in West Bengal and are now firmly placed. And for opposition, it is indeed a very, very serious challenge. I mean, for Congress, it could be a matter of existence. I should just mention that, while we all tend to think that all losers got everything wrong and winner got everything right, I think in Uttar Pradesh, Congress was actually energetic. They had a decent manifesto, and they looked somewhat fresh party. Their vote share, I think, would shrink further and would get them nowhere. But as in cricket or in anything else, the story is not only told by the outcome. In Punjab, I did want to say something. Now it's absolutely clear that it's a landslide for Aam Aadmi Party. We headed for that.
Landslide.
Which is to say they should sweep Malwa completely, do reasonably well in Majha and pick a handful of seats.
I think they might get
Doaba.
close to 100 because the bump is coming in now. They might get close to 100.
Rising now. So it's a great opportunity, but there are some challenges, if I could just quickly mention. One is here is a verdict for which the background was prepared by farmers' movement. Farming and agriculture is something Aam Aadmi Party does not understand as yet. This is something they really need to work hard at. Second, Punjab has always rebelled against Delhi Darbar. And apprehensions have been that Punjab would now be controlled by Delhi Darbar. That's one thing Punjabis are never going to accept.
For 500 years.
For 500 years, they have not accepted that. And when I was in Aam Aadmi Party, that's one thing I did mention to Arvind Kejriwal. Look, for 500 years, they've not been ruled by Delhi Darbar. Don't even try that.
In fact, Punjab has restlessness the moment there is a strong government in Delhi.
Okay, let's just also now go across to Anjali Rai. Aam Aadmi Party is with us, and also the Sensex is up by, what was it? I was just told in my ear, 900, is it?
Oh, God.
So have Zelensky and Putin called peace?
Sorry?
Have Zelensky and Putin called peace?
I think
1,000 points.
I think Yogi, this is the Yogi Modi, is this the UP effect? But anyway, let's just go across to Anjali Rai. Also Shama Mohammed of the Congress is with us. Anjali Rai, if these numbers hold, I mean, congratulations to you.
Many congratulations, Anjali Rai. This is just a phenomenal, it's Delhi repeated. It's like, I think, you could hit 100 seats. Phenomenal.
It's fantastic. And again, apologies for the long wait. But let's just get your first thoughts, Anjali Rai, on this. What would you say, Anjali, the AAP managed to fix compared to last time? Because again, last time everyone said AAP was going to win, didn't happen. What has changed?
It's really heartening to see that people of Punjab have given their thumbs up to the Kejriwal model of governance, which aims to provide dignified life to each and every citizen of India. ऐसे घर जहां पर हर वक्त 24 घंटे मुफ्त बिजली हो, हर गरीब का घर रोशन हो, साफ पानी पीने को मिले, गरीब बच्चों को शिक्षा मिले, प्राइवेट स्कूल से बेहतर शिक्षा मिले, मेडिकल फैसिलिटीज मिले. And I think the progress of Delhi has resonated in Punjab. That's why people of Punjab believed in Kejriwal model of governance, and they also wanted the same model of governance in their state. We asked for one chance and they gave us that chance. और हम पूरी उम्मीद करते हैं कि हम अपने जितने भी हमने वायदे किए हैं हम उन पर खरे उतरेंगे. जो भी हमने कहा है हम अपने सारे वायदों को पूरे करेंगे. आज देश पूरे की ये हालत है कि सभी लोग, चाहे कोई भी स्टेट हो भारत की, everybody wants Kejriwal's model of governance.
Right. In fact, very interesting. Let's try and get, because we're talking of Punjab, let's take, look at that.
Look at that.
Channi is trailing in Chamkaur Sahib, which is his primary seat. Bhagwant Mann is of course leading, but some big guns in Punjab apparently, Prannoy, are trailing. So as we go through them, we'll have to see what is happening with Sidhu in Amritsar East. So Charanjit Channi is trailing in both his seats, in Badaur, which is in Malwa, and in Chamkaur Sahib, which is in Ropar. So that is big. Captain himself is trailing.
In Patiala.
In Patiala. Captain himself is trailing. One assumes that most of these are AAP.
Last time his victory margin was 49%.
49%. And trailing. Let's just keep
phenomenal.
moving. Let's keep moving. Look at that. Look at that. Navjot Sidhu, state president, is trailing to Aam Aadmi
Margin
Party in
43% last
East.
time. It's phenomenal. This is not just a sweep, not a landslide.
It's a huge,
But he's got another career. He'll go back to
Sukhbir
being a
Badal.
comedian.
Sorry, just a second. Sukhbir Badal.
Trailing.
Also trailing. So this is, AAP is
Yogendra, what's one
massive
step
wickets.
above landslide?
Avalanche.
This is more than avalanche. Good one, yeah.
More like what they had in Tamil Nadu. Or
in
Aam Aadmi
Delhi.
Party in Delhi.
In Delhi. Aam Aadmi
Something
Party
of
in
that
Delhi,
kind.
more like
Although because of, I think, relatively less effect in Doaba, it would stop short of the Delhi situation. Because Delhi was complete.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
but
situation in
Yogendra-
Doaba is right now.
Yogendra, what is the political message from this? Political message is that when there is a yearning for change, Aam Aadmi Party sweeps it. Because they come up with a fresh alternative. Because as long as conventional parties fight, the changes from A to B, B to A. When C comes suddenly, then everybody votes for C. So this is a change vote that they are getting.
Certainly change vote. People, as I said, are disgusted with these mainstream political parties. They wanted to see a change. Now, the real challenge is for Aam Aadmi Party to offer a change. In Delhi, you could say, well, the Lieutenant Governor doesn't allow me to work. What can I do? I've done this much. In Punjab, you don't have any more pretext. And it says you have very good situations. So the model would be put to a real test this
But
time.
Punjab has an issue. Delhi is a very rich state in terms of revenues. Punjab is a very poor state, also with a huge indebtedness. So the kind of things you can do in Delhi, you cannot do in Punjab. You simply don't have the money
I guess the
available.
voters would say you should have known it before you wrote all these things in the manifesto.
Right.
So,
So
I think this may be a real test now.
There are going to be challenges, but let's also go across now. Let's start getting our first reactions from the Congress, because that's again been a big story. Shama Mohammed is with us. Shama Mohammed, this is turning out to be a complete disaster for the Congress across states.
Yeah, going on. It comes up around reels coming up, but we'll see what happens. I'm also looking at the numbers. I was just on another channel, Malayalam Manorama, and there the numbers are completely different. So I see different channels, there are a difference in the numbers, So let's just wait for some more time, and then the picture gets clear. The clarity becomes better, isn't it?
For coming on this channel at a tough time like this, it's really strong of you. I just want to understand from you, what is the future of the Congress? Are you going to learn something from this, or just say, we'll introspect?
No, there is introspection all up. Now we have to do something more. Honestly, Punjab, I'm going to be very honest about it, is our own doing. We could have easily won Punjab. It was a state which we could have 200%, which was on our side. And we did it. We got it all wrong. I mean, they were Sidhu abusing our chief minister all the time. And that, of course, people understand that when there is internal issues, definitely they need stability. So he was, so there definitely is an issue out there. And I must concede that that is our own doing. But I feel Goa and Uttarakhand, I'm a bit taken aback by what I see, because I was expecting Goa and Uttarakhand to win. Let's see, I still feel, Goa we would win. I don't know. I mean, what I'm seeing, the numbers look not great, but that's what I mentioned. In other channels, it's different, and here it's different.
Right. As we speak, in fact, as we speak, BJP has hit 20 in Goa. So BJP has just hit the halfway mark in Goa, which everybody said is going to be hung. BJP is hit 20. Again, Baj will be able to tell us whether these are, are we still talking of postals? No, or these are now
17-9.
Sorry?
17 to 9. But
17-9 in rounds.
Yeah, but if you go into the constituencies, some of the leads are 93, 103.
Okay,
so
but that's Goa. Yeah. That's just like you know, 20,000
one round
votes.
will be very few votes in any case.
Yeah.
So but
this
is can change.
So that's a
but unlikely to change.
Big story coming out of Goa.
I think Gilles has called. You've called Goa also now, no? Oh, sorry, tomorrow.
He wants to go to Goa to call Goa. But
what do you feel the current situation
about Goa? I think we will see that.
No, all of them.
All of them.
Quick summary.
Okay, the quick summary is that as of now, all the exit poll predictions are holding for all 5 states.
I'm very proud of the exit polls. This was a make or break for them.
Except Goa, though. Goa, everyone said is going to be hung.
Except that we will still see fluctuation in seats, and so we've seen this before many times. I remember Madhya Pradesh, for example, which until the very last moment, was really a roller coaster. And so something similar could still happen in Goa. But as of now, the exit poll predictions are by and large holding. The unknown factor was the amplitude of, or the magnitude of victories in Punjab. It is becoming very clear that it's a clean sweep for Aam Aadmi Party. In Uttar Pradesh, the SP seems to be holding and making good progress. So we're not seeing trend as of now of a BJP at 300 seats. So
I think it's pretty close, coming pretty close to 300. It's 3 out of 4.
Can I say something?
Or maybe 270, 280,
yeah,
like that.
But we're not there yet. There will still be a lot of fluctuations.
Yeah,
but then with your bump,
already 240. I think Dorab wants to come in. Just a second. Sorry, Dorab.
Surprising among those trailing in Punjab is Prakash Singh Badal. He's been around for almost 50 years in the House.
Yes. One of the most respected politician in Punjab.
No, he's probably he's over 90s. He's probably a longer career than any Indian politician at the moment.
Right.
And he's trailing from Lambi, which the seat is, it's his backyard.
So,
it really is.
So phenomenal.
Big wickets are falling in Punjab. Let's Prannoy go across to Mohammad Ghazali, our colleague who is in Punjab. Ghazali, so massive AAP sweep in Punjab. What is the Congress saying?
No word from Congress leaders yet. We saw early morning Charanjit Singh Channi going from one Gurudwara to another. Now he's at his residence. He's not even coming out. Now this is called wave, Vasu, which I was mentioning in the morning. If all the heavyweights of Punjab, Amrinder Singh, Charanjit Channi, Sukhbir Badal, and all from their strong boroughs, they're all trailing right now. So that certainly looks like an AAP wave. And in all the region, we have seen these all Badals, Amrinder and Channi coming from the Malwa region of Punjab. They're all trailing. Mr. Channi trailing even from Badaur and Chamkaur Sahib seat. So as of now, from Election Commission data, it says that Aam Aadmi Party is leading on 83 seats out of 117 seats. And even those faceless leaders who were not even known before these elections, even they are leading on multiple seats. Like I just said, 83 seats. Even in Ludhiana on multiple seats, Bharat Bhushan Ashu, a Hindu face of Congress who was minister, even he is trailing there on his seat. So certainly looks like a landslide for Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab as of now, though final results are yet to come.
All right, Mohammad Ghazali, thanks very much indeed for that. So the big story coming out of Punjab is a complete AAP sweep. Big leaders, Congress, Akalis, all seem to be in deep trouble. So,
as Darab said, if Prakash Singh Badal can lose in Lambi, then no
anything
one
can happen
stand this way.
Akalis are down to 8 seats. I mean, single digits.
Yes,
this is a party that...
Yeah, it looks like Congress is losing at least half of its vote share in Punjab. I mean, we'll have a confirmation of that.
Half its vote share.
But it's absolutely colossal.
Collapsed. It's collapsed.
Isn't there a real comparison to be made between the BJP in UP and the Congress in Punjab? You mentioned anti-incumbency and pro-incumbency. That in UP, the BJP has actually used the state machinery to galvanize itself politically, ration, delivery, whatever. The Congress having been in power through the years in Punjab, has simply not been able to use the state machinery to create pro-incumbency.
In fact,
So
I
there's
think
a
you're
real-
right. I think the performance of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Because it went through 2 years of COVID, recession, hardship.
And
People
still-
don't recover from
Still.
recession and price
Still
rise
won.
with oil going up, and you still come back with 270 seats perhaps?
Yeah.
And
it's a unprecedented
What
achievement.
Yogendra was saying in pro-incumbency, right? But the Congress just couldn't do it in Punjab. I mean, it's such a tale of two parties.
Congress
you know?
has worked
a
so-
tale of two
Congress has, see,
Yeah.
to be fair
national
to Congress,
parties.
to be fair to Congress, they have really worked
At their
extremely,
defeat.
extremely hard at achieving this result. So they should be satisfied because they've been working at it for a long time. And in fact, Congress trolls have been enormously more abusive.
Oh, they are very
and more,
abusive on
and
Twitter.
more nasty.
They're
Anytime you
nasty.
call this out,
Yeah,
and I remember in one article I said this is like that old Dilip Kumar Sagina Mato film, Aag Lagi Hamri Jhopadiya Mein Hum Gawe Malhar, and the amount of abuse this.
But Dr. Roy, do you
drew.
think that?
But this is just setting your own house on fire.
Yeah. Do you
And by
think
the
that
way- and
the
by the way,
fact that
Sagarika,
Mr.
just a second.
Modi put himself on the ticket in UP, did that play a role? Because he was, you know,
It
definitely.
played a lot of role, a strong role with women, but Yogi as well had a very important role, and this welfare measures, as you were mentioning, was very important. But basically, there is a BJP wave in this country. And the only thing that every time it faces is state nationalism, sub-nationalism, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, because overall nationalism is with the BJP. Nationalism and religion, the two most moving factors in any election. They have got both. The only combat that they can't take on right now is state-wise sub-nationalism.
But Aam Aadmi Party is not
No,
sub-national.
no, no, not Aam Aadmi. I'm saying
Yeah.
all the other ones in the south, in the east,
regional identity.
regional identity is huge, where Mamta went in to say outsiders are trying to rule us. That had a huge, so that is their only challenge, because they hold on to religion and nationalism. You don't get better than that.
It's a real double
And
engine.
cultural heritage.
Yes.
That really is the issue here. I think when most of, at least Hindi heartland, North Indian states, you could call it a wave. In general, BJP has captured moral and political common sense of the people. And the basic currency of politics, nationalism is the currency of politics. That's the language you speak on an everyday basis. And if that language is captured by someone, you are constantly on the back foot. And that's a sense I got in UP. That's what I said, it's common sense has been captured by BJP. It's not booth capturing, it's common sense. It's not EVM tempering, it's actually tempering through this device, which is what's actually happening.
But it is also this farmers' agitation has made very little difference. I mean, yeah,
It did.
SP has gained a few seats in Goa and in the West, but it doesn't seem to have had the impact that,
But it
I
was
would
largely,
disagree.
Baj,
I
it was
would
only
say-
largely confined
but even
to
But
some
even-
districts in
even
western
in
Uttar
Western
Pradesh.
Uttar
but even there, it's not had that impact that it
Yeah.
overturned.
So in fact,
majority.
Yogendra and I have had an argument on this. I don't think farmers' movement was a mass ground level movement. It was a movement of one caste in Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh, and that caste is a very small minority in each of the states. Even in Haryana, it's only about 18 to 20%. It was a Jat movement. And
As always, Shekhar, I would disagree on this one very strongly. Look, I said that in West
it's just
Bengal.
gone puss.
No, not at
farmer
all.
movement.
Not at all.
Right.
It's just that we don't, the way you expect it to play out, it didn't, and we did not expect it to. Like we went to West Bengal, we said we would oppose BJP. Mamta won there. Did we say it because of us? No. Farmers' movement had a very limited role to play. I was on the other channel, and since you love cricket metaphors, our job was to apply a strong roller on the wicket, which we did. We were not there to bat or ball. Batting and bowling has to be done by BJP and SP. The question, more seriously, if you were to speak a social scientific language, the question would be counterfactual. Would it have been better without the farmers' movement? Would it have been worse without the farmers' movement? And I dare say, in Punjab, farmers' movement did play a role in the complete discrediting of the political establishment. And in Uttar Pradesh, farmers' movement did play a significant role in making it look like an election this time. Without that, this was no election 6 months ago. I mean, opposition parties were nowhere to be seen in this election. It's only and only because of farmers' movement that it looked like an election. But you made a very interesting other observation, which is that from a multi-party contest in Uttar Pradesh, it has become a two-horse race. As a result of which, SP is gaining in a big way. It's losing, but gaining. And that's why every journalist on the ground said SP is doing beautifully.
Because
of course it was.
Doubling their vote share.
They're doubling their vote share and losing the election. The second part no one saw. Everyone saw the first part and reported accurately that SP is gaining. That's what happened there.
One correction on Goa. According to the Goa newspapers, it's 17-17, MJP 2 and AAP 1. So it's...
So Goa is still an open game. But what about Uttarakhand? Does it look like settling for BJP?
Yes.
That's what the numbers show. But are the...
What is the Goa?
It is 46 to BJP, 20 to Congress in Uttarakhand. So you now have leads.
No, but in terms of round leads, I mean, have we eliminated now the paper count, the ballot paper?
That we'll have to see.
No, not yet. But I have to agree with, Yogendra. In UP, the SP campaign picked up after the cancellation of the farm laws, because it gave a signal that...
Okay, just 1 second, Karan, we've got Raghav Chadha, first reaction, Aam Aadmi Party, let's listen.
गुरु महाराज ने अपना मेहर वाला हाथ अपने बच्चों पे आम आदमी पार्टी पे रखा है और पंजाब के लोगों ने भगवंत मान साहब की, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की जोड़ी को गले लगाया है। ये कि केजरीवाल मॉडल ऑफ गवर्नेंस जो हमने दिल्ली में दिया, उस पे पंजाब के लोगों ने भी मोहर लगाई और कहा हम भी इसे आजमाना चाहते हैं, हम भी इसे देखना चाहते हैं, हम भी इसके लाभ लेना चाहते हैं। और आज आप देख रहे हैं कि बड़े बड़े लोग पंजाब की सियासत के, जिन्होंने दशकों तक पंजाब की सियासत पे राज किया, आज उनके भी सिंहासन डोल गए, आज उनकी भी हालत खराब है अपनी अपनी सीटों पर। हमें इसका कोई अहंकार नहीं है, ये हमने नहीं किया, एक परमात्मा का आशीर्वाद है और जनता जनार्दन है। लोगों ने ठान ली कि 50 सालों तक जिन लोगों ने पंजाब को लूटा, पंजाब की हालत को बद से बदतर किया, अब उन्हें स्वाद चखाना है, उनको हटाना है और नए ईमानदार अच्छे लोगों को लाना है। और सबसे बड़ी बात जो आज के नतीजों से नजर आती है वो ये है कि आम आदमी पार्टी आज एक नेशनल फोर्स बनी है, एक राष्ट्रीय फोर्स बन के उभरी है। और आने वाले समय में आम आदमी पार्टी, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी भारतीय जनता पार्टी के प्रिंसिपल चैलेंजर होंगे, ये कहने में मुझे कोई डाउट नहीं है, कोई गुरेज नहीं है। और आने वाले समय में आम आदमी पार्टी कांग्रेस पार्टी की नेशनल और नेचुरल रिप्लेसमेंट बनेगी।
आज देखा जा रहे नतीजे तो बड़े बड़े दिग्गज, जैसे आपने बोला भी है, कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह हो, वो भी थोड़े से रहे हैं, नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू जो प्रधान रहे हैं और वो दावा करते थे कि हमारी सरकार दोबारा आएगी, हमने ये, उन्होंने रोल मॉडल भी दिया। क्या कहेंगे बड़े बड़े जो हैं दिग्गज, उनका कारण क्या रहा?
देखिए, हुआ ये कि बीते 50 सालों में इन सारी पार्टियों ने पंजाब को इतना लूटा, पंजाब को 3 लाख करोड़ के कर्जे के नीचे ला दिया, पंजाब के युवाओं को नशे की लत लगाई, युवाओं को देश छोड़कर और बाहरले मुल्कों में जाकर मजदूरी करनी पड़ रही है, किसान आत्महत्या कर रहा है, बहुत बुरा हाल है। किसी भी सेक्टर को उठाकर देख लीजिए, शिक्षा की बात करें, स्वास्थ्य की बात करें, एटसेट्रा। लेकिन इन नेताओं के 7 स्टार होटल बन गए, इन सबके फार्म हाउस बन गए, इन सबकी बड़ी बड़ी कोठियां बन गई, इनके शॉपिंग मॉल्स बन गए, एटसेट्रा। तो लोगों ने ठान लिया कि इस बार इन सारी ताकतों को हराकर ईमानदार लोगों को लाना है, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, भगवंत मान जी की जोड़ी को लाना है। और ये भी दिखाता है कि जहां पर लोगों के पास एक विकल्प है, वहां लोग विकल्प को चुनते हैं। आज आम आदमी पार्टी केवल पंजाब में ही एक विकल्प नहीं, मेरा मानना है एक राष्ट्रीय विकल्प, एक नेशनल ऑल्टरनेटिव बन के उभरी है। और आने वाले समय में आम आदमी पार्टी, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी इस देश की कमान संभालें, ऐसी मैं प्रभु से प्रार्थना करता हूँ।
राज्यसभा की भी अभी इलेक्शन होंगे, तो अगर आम आदमी पार्टी फुल मेजॉरिटी से आती तो आपको राज्यसभा में भी बेनिफिट होगा।
बहुत होगा। देखिए, अब आने वाले समय में सारी चीजें तय करेंगे, लोकसभा, राज्यसभा में। अरे आप मुझे माफ करें, मैं तो छोटा सा आदमी हूँ। वो कहते हैं जी लल्लू करे कवलियां रब सिद्धियां पावे। इसमें पार्टी के सभी कार्यकर्ताओं ने, सबने मिलकर काम किया।
राघव चड्ढा के लिए कितना बड़ा दिन है, क्योंकि आपने बहुत मेहनत की है पूरे पंजाब में।
देखिए, बहुत बड़ा दिन है मेरे लिए। मैं करीब 1.5 साल होने को आया है जब से मुझे आम आदमी पार्टी ने पंजाब में जिम्मेदारी दी है। मैं तब से खूब मेहनत कर रहा हूँ। खाली मैं मेहनत नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ये कोई एक शख्स की मेहनत नहीं होती है, हजारों हमारे पार्टी के वर्कर्स, कार्यकर्ता जो इस जीत के असली हकदार हैं। मैं असली हकदार नहीं हूँ, ना पार्टी की लीडरशिप असली हकदार है। असली हकदार तो पार्टी का कार्यकर्ता, पंजाब के लोग हैं जिन्होंने विश्वास किया। हम लोग आम लोग हैं, हम लोग पॉलिटिशियंस नहीं है, हम लोग साधारण परिवारों से आते हैं, आम घरों के बच्चे हैं और अपना करियर छोड़कर, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी IIT से पढ़े हुए इनकम टैक्स के कमिश्नर अपनी नौकरी छोड़कर आए। मैं पेशे से चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूँ, अपना काम छोड़कर आया। इसलिए आए कि ये भारत की सियासत, राजनीति एक दलदल बन गया है, इसे साफ करना है। इस कीचड़ को साफ करके फिर से देश की सेवा, जिसे कहा जाता था राजनीति हो, उसकी ओर इसे ले जाना है। तो हम तो आम लोग हैं, तो लोगों ने अपना विश्वास हम पर बनाया, गुरु महाराज ने अपना मेहर वाला हाथ रखा। और मैं फिर कहूँगा, वो हमारे साथ तो वो लागू होता है कि लल्लू करे कवलियाँ, रब सिद्धियाँ पावे।
जनता को क्या संदेश देंगे, कितना
अब थोड़ा सा इंतजार करें, भी रिजल्ट और क्लियर हो जाने दीजिए, फिर मैं अभी पार्टी ऑफिस पे रवाना हो रहा हूँ। पार्टी ऑफिस पे आपसे
One of the men of the moment for the Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab, Raghav Chadha, who was also heading the campaign there. But Prannoy, let's go across to Anjali Istwal. She is joining us from AAP headquarters in Punjab. Anjali, we are told some kind of victory stage procession is being set up there. Okay, I think we've got a bit of a signal issue with Anjali. Anjali, are you back with us? Okay, let's go actually to Sonakshi, who's right in the middle of the action. Sonakshi, over to you. Can't hear. You can see why she can't hear.
Well, Vasu and to all my colleagues in the studio in Delhi, I'm pretty sure that you're missing out on all the action right now because the dhol and the bhangra will not stop. I can say for the next few days, you will see that people here have put on a lot of music and they're celebrating. Laddus are being distributed. I want to come to this lady. I want to ask her, hello, Sat Shri Akal. आम आदमी पार्टी अभी इस वक्त नंबर्स के हिसाब से तो एकदम जूम कार हो गई है, राजधानी एक्सप्रेस से भी तेज एकदम बाहर है। तो आपको क्या लगता है, बदलाव आ गया है?
बिल्कुल आ गया जी, ये बदलाव का ही नतीजा है। आप ही यहाँ पर हो, बदलाव के कारण ही हो। क्योंकि बदलाव आया तो ही आप आए हैं। हम लोग दिल्ली से इसी खुशी के साथ आए हैं कि यहाँ पर बदलाव आ चुका है।
आप दिल्ली से आए हैं?
बिल्कुल जी,
आप दिल्ली से आए?
सारे यहाँ से 15-20 हमारे जंग वो दिल्ली से स्पेशल भगवंत मान जी घर जीत का जश्न मनाने आए हैं। दिल्ली के अंदर हमने पहले ही बारे में 67 पार की थी, फिर 62 पार की और यहाँ का 100 को आंकड़ा पार होने वाला है। तो NDTV का मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ जो NDTV यहाँ के सच्ची न्यूज़ दिखाता है और अच्छी न्यूज़ दिखाता है।
आप इस वक्त कह रहे हैं कि इस बार 100 पार आपकी सरकार
होगी। 100 पार, और देखो 88 होंगी, 100 हो जाएगी। आगे के लिए दोनों पार्टियां खत्म हो गई पंजाब में। ना अकाली रहेंगे ना कांग्रेस रहेगी।
आपने पहले किसी और को वोट दिया था आम आदमी पार्टी?
हम कांग्रेस को देते रहे तो बकरियां जोड़ने लगे। कांग्रेस वाले मुख्यमंत्री बकरियां जोड़ने लग गया। एक गरीब घर से पैदा होकर कांग्रेस का मुख्यमंत्री एक गरीब घर से पैदा होकर अरबपति हो गया। उनके चाचे भतीजे करोड़ों रुपया पकड़ा गया। 100 दिन की सरकार उसने राज किया।
तो आपने साइड स्विच क्यों किया? आपने फिर कांग्रेस को वोट ना देके आम आदमी पार्टी को इस बार वोट क्यों दिया?
हमारे को ईमानदार देखे भी ये ईमानदार ने शायद कुछ कर सकते हैं, इसलिए हमने ट्रांसफर कर दिया वोट। हमें दिल्ली में कितना अभी पंजाब में दिल्ली मॉडल आया है, अभी हिंदुस्तान में पंजाब मॉडल जाएगा। ठीक है, हम पूरे पंजाब में अब पूरे इंडिया में फैलेंगे।
इस बार पंजाब में जब कैंपेनिंग हो रही थी तो अरविंद केजरीवाल के नाम से हो रही थी। एक मौका अरविंद केजरीवाल नु, एक मौका आप नु, ठीक है, ये कैंपेन था। बदलाव के नाम पे कैंपेन चल रहा था। तो ये बदलाव क्या है, ये क्या होने वाला है? सिर्फ एक चीज तो नहीं है, करप्शन, काफी चीजें हैं। तो क्या आप एक वोटर के हिसाब से, एक सिटीजन ऑफ पंजाब, आप जो है एक नागरिक है, आप हमें आपके प्रॉब्लम्स बताइए।
प्रॉब्लम तो ये है, पिंड दे विच नशा पहुंचाता जी इन्होंने।
नशा, ड्रग्स प्रॉब्लम,
ड्रग्स, नशा, हर तरह का नशा, करप्शन बहुत ज्यादा है। पंजाब को लूट लिया था इनने। कोई सेहत सहूलत नहीं। एक जी आम परिवार को मेडिकल होना चाहिए फ्री, जैसे बोल रहे हैं, एजुकेशन फ्री होना चाहिए।
तो आम आदमी पार्टी के जो प्रॉमिसेस थे, जो दावे हैं, उसके वजह से आपने?
हाँ जी, उसकी वजह से ये इस बार तो भगवंत मान मुख्यमंत्री बन रहे हैं। अगली बार अरविंद केजरीवाल प्रधानमंत्री बनेंगे.
Right. So there you see some reactions of the supporters here of the Aam Aadmi of Punjab, who has now finally given, or what it seems like, has given a chance to the Aam Aadmi of Delhi, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, who has now clearly expanded his territory beyond the national capital, entering into Punjab. And the people here say that they are confident that the Aam Aadmi Party will live up to their expectations and fulfill their promises. But for now, it's the dhol and the bhangra that will not stop.
I say we don't envy you, but let's also go across now, Prannoy. We have one of the men of the moment of the AAP Punjab big win. Raghav Chadha is here with us. He's been spearheading the Punjab campaign, and also he sang the Punjab AAP song, Ek Moka De Kejriwal Nu. Congratulations, Raghav. And
Raghav, thank you very, very much for joining us. And just, I mean, not just congratulations. This is amazing, amazing victory and a brilliant campaign you've run. It's just a earth-shattering result. You've done Delhi again in Punjab. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did you do it?
And I think, there is... It's a collective effort. It's a team effort under the leadership of my Chief Minister, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, who is the chief political strategist of this party. I'm not. He is the one to whom, and the workers of to whom this entire credit, the credit of this victory goes to. I've often said this, and I'll say this again, that there's a chaste saying in Punjabi that applies to us, which is "Lallu kare kavaliyan, Rab siddhiyan pave." हम तो बहुत छोटे से लोग हैं. We're ordinary people. We come from ordinary middle-class households. We've left our careers, and we've experimented with something to, to change the politics of India.
This is not an OB.
And today, people of Punjab are rewarding the Aam Aadmi Party and the efforts, the honest efforts made by us. And it appears that the people of Punjab have embraced the jodi of Bhagwant Maan Sahab and Arvind Kejriwal.
With an overwhelming victory like this comes a lot of responsibility. You have a huge amount of problems in Punjab to overcome. What are the first 2 or 3 things you plan to do?
Well, we have set out a complete blueprint for ourselves, whether it's, dealing with the issue of unemployment, whether the crisis in the power sector, and, the economic revival. As we all know that Punjab is in a state of mess in terms of its economy. It's a debt of close to 3 lakh crore, and the per capita debt in Punjab is 1 lakh rupees. That is, every Punjabi has a debt of roughly 1 lakh rupee on its head. So the economic turnaround, giving employment opportunities, reviving the power sector, looking after the agricultural sector, all have been very meticulously planned, etc., by both Mr. Kejriwal and Bhagwant Maan Sahab. And very soon you will see we'll set the ball rolling once we form the government. And, for a party that lost the 2017 elections, we know what this victory means to us. As they say that victory is sweetest when you've seen defeat. So we understand the value of this, and we are truly, truly humbled that people of Punjab have given Bhagwant Maan Sahab
Raghav,
such a huge mandate.
Yeah, but just to ask you on Bhagwant Maan, because he's, for a lot of people, especially watching from outside of Punjab, he's an unknown entity. You all saw how your rivals tried to smear him during the campaign, pointing to his erratic behavior, struggles with alcoholism and all of that. And also this question that people kept raising that, Punjab is a border state, a sensitive state. Can somebody like Bhagwant Maan lead it? To them, you would say what?
Bhagwant Maan is one of the most upright people and with unimpeachable integrity that I've met in my life. In fact, as back in the day, I was appointed as the secretary to the parliamentary group when we won 4 MPs in the year 2014. So since that time, I've been working very closely with him. And I've seen him grow. I've seen him evolve as a person. And I can tell you He's the best man to lead Punjab. People of Punjab want him to lead. He will prove to be an excellent chief minister. And I think
I think I don't know him personally, but if I was him, anybody who says anything, look, his answer is the people have spoken. The people decide in this country.
People have spoken.
Yeah.
People have.
Of course, it's a huge responsibility on his shoulder.
The will of the people is supreme.
And
yes, but we understand that.
But also, Raghav,
Mr. Kejriwal.
Yeah. Sorry. Also, Raghav, this is also being seen as a big shift in national politics as well, with parties like the Aam Aadmi Party now filling the vacuum left by parties like the Congress. Would you read it like that as well?
No, absolutely. And I see this election result from a national perspective, and I see AAP becoming a national force, a force to reckon with at the national level. And I say this with a sense of responsibility that Aam Aadmi Party is going to be the national and the natural replacement of the Congress Party.
Which is the next state? Is it Gujarat?
Yeah. Please, let us first celebrate the victory of Punjab. We can have
step
this
by step.
conversation later in the week.
Correct. But we will get you
thank
back.
You so much
we will get you back later after you've celebrated and ask you your next step.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah. No, I'm there.
Raghav, listen, before you go, when you'd come on the exit polls, you'd made a promise that the next time you come, you're going to sing a little bit from the AAP anthem, where you were the lead singer.
I wasn't the lead singer.
Okay, you
there
were
was
one
a
of the
separate
singers.
Lead vocalist.
Okay,
I will sing. I'll sing in the evening when I join you.
Career.
I'll sing in the no, there is no parallel career. I'll sing in the evening when I join you. I have to run for my party office now, where all my workers, etc., are waiting for us to celebrate.
Thank you very much for
so
joining us. Thank you very much.
We are truly humbled. We are truly humbled. Thank you.
Right. All right. Thanks very much indeed. Raghav Chadha there saying quite clearly, positioning himself, saying that we are now going to be the new Congress.
Yeah.
But watch them in Gujarat. Watch them in Gujarat, because once again Congress has set itself up. They have a party chief who's not the party chief. They have somebody who's not the party chief, who's the party chief. They will remember Gujarat elections about 3 months before elections.
Just look at East Malwa. Congress swing minus 34%.
Well, if you saw the Surat results in local body results in Gujarat, also in Ahmedabad city, Aam Aadmi Party will be the new Congress in Gujarat 9 out of 10.
God, that's huge.
And guess who's in Gujarat tomorrow? The Prime Minister.
Yes.
So even not even 24 hours later, Prime Minister is already in Gujarat.
Two-day visit.
Two-day visit is addressing booth-level Karyakarta. So the BJP's Gujarat campaign effectively kicks off tomorrow.
Wow.
So I think in 2029, we're going to see Kejriwal versus Yogi.
You can see very far, right?
I think
you can see very far.
Yeah, that's the, because they both be young men and they'll be the two.
But Yogendra, just want to hear your summing up of the situation in a historic election. This is really a big change in India.
I must confess that I worry. I worry because I look at not 2029, I look at 2024.
I think that's
and the problem that I see, fortunately, I'm no longer a psephologist. I'm someone who worries about this country and the dismantling of the republic that's taking place right in front of our eyes. And what this verdict does, sadly, and I'm not blaming the people, I think it's only the opposition that needs to be blamed for what's happening. What it does is that it makes any serious challenge for 2024 much weaker.
Much weaker.
I do not know what would happen in 29, whether it will be Kejriwal versus Modi, Kejriwal versus Yogi. We don't know that. No, but what it does mean that in Gujarat, and Shekhar is absolutely right, in Gujarat it could mean that now BJP doesn't have to worry too much. Prime Minister would have probably 2 somewhat relaxed days.
Well, Congress Party admitted Jignesh Mevani in Gujarat, didn't send him to campaign in Ahmedabad local body elections. And see what happened. Aam Aadmi Party took so much of the Congress votes, that writing is on the wall.
So if this happens in Gujarat and continues till 2024, what it really means is that we don't have a, the challenge for 2024 is weaker in the regions where it matters. There is a very serious challenge from Bengal to Kerala, the entire eastern coast and Kerala, there is a challenge. But the other region, Karnataka upwards and the entire Hindi heartland, I think UP results would have, if we broadly look at the pattern, which is roughly say around 260, 270 for the BJP,
Yep.
and maybe 130, 140 for, or maybe less for Samajwadi Party.
Right.
That would have hugely demoralizing consequences. On the larger issue, I think it's fair to say that for the last 2.5 years, probably for the last 7 years, the real opposition has not been in the parliament or assembly. The real opposition has been on the street. And that is where the responsibility shifts once again for opposition to what I would call, this is not your channel position, but I really see a...
You don't have a position.
I know, so, but but there are very few places where I can go and say this clearly, bluntly. What we are facing is dismantling of our republic. It's not merely truncation of democracy. It's not merely squeezing voices and human rights out. It is really dismantling of our republic.
But you're
and those
talking about
forces that oppose
dismantling
it
of the
are weaker
republic
today.
With the people wanting it, voting it, voting the dismantling. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I've said. I've said that it's a dismantling of the republic with the mobilization of the public.
Yeah.
And that is much deeper. If the dismantling was taking place was happening by someone coming from outside, some external force, some Russia, some Putin doing it, then there's ways of handling it. But if it's happening by mobilizing the public, this is the deepest challenge. And I'm afraid in one of the states which matters most in the country for that taking that challenge on, despite promising, despite all the appearances to the contrary, we've realized that the challenge is much deeper, much stronger than we imagined it to be.
And do you think there's an underlying religious aspect to the entire thing, or not really? Or just
I would not call it
incompetence of the
religious, I would straight away call it communal.
Communal.
You know, so you go to speak to a BJP voter, and you know that they are offering rationalizations on behalf of the BJP.
Is it religious or cultural?
It's a mix of three things. There is straightforward communal angle, which is straightforward Hindu-Muslim. Then there is nationalism. BJP has successfully a party whose founders had nothing to do with Indian nationalism. They are now the most potent carrier, most potent sort of claimants to the legacy of nationalism. So if you surrender nationalism, you surrender Hindu religion and its legacy, you surrender cultural heritage of the country, and then you wonder why people don't take you seriously. This is really what has happened, and people like us are to be blamed for that. Those who ruled this country for 50 years, those who controlled the media, controlled education, controlled politics of this country for such a long time, I think they are to be blamed.
But we must also accept the responsibility of the media here. You know, I mean, we're talking about electoral autocracy, and autocracy made possible by the will of the people. But you look at the way the opposition is systematically invisibilized from every forum. They're not in the media. You know, you have, the Prime Minister's photographs on vaccine certificates, sacks of rice. You know, it's like the public sphere. It works, and the public sphere is basically invisibilizing the opposition. So in that sense, I know that the opposition is also to blame.
Opposition mukt.
Opposition mukt public sphere. And in that sense, in that sense, you can't, I mean, of course you can blame the opposition, but there's also a kind of systematic invisibilization that has taken place. And the media, I mean, we are culpable. We don't question the Modi model of governance.
I just want to ask Gilles, are there parallels in other countries looking around the world? You keep studying exactly this. And do you see a trend that's happening in India that
there has been for a while now a global trend where we see more and more elections across the world and fewer democracy. So a disconnect between the vibrancy of electoral politics and the quality of democracy that comes out from these processes.
Many of these people who are in power around the world have been voted overwhelmingly in. Erdogan, Bolsonaro.
But
I
that's
mean,
the
they
point
are
he's
voted
making.
in.
Yeah, but that's precisely
saying.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
And they represent a form of governance that goes against most democratic norms, that is carried by a strong anti-establishment discourse, but is carried by a rebranding of what it means to be a nationalist or pro-nation, in their respective country. And what we see in this election, and in UP in particular, is a validation of a trend that started, 2014 onwards. This is the fourth or fifth, consecutive election that the BJP wins, decisively. And it also offers a model of governance which is based on strongman politics, which is based on institutionalization of practices that violate democratic norms, like the law of jihad legislations and others, and which gets a lot of support. There was recently a YouGov CPR poll that shows that there's now a majority opinion in India for values that go against what we usually define as democratic norms. The idea that a strong man is better than a competitive electoral landscape, for instance. And these are ideas that are shared across categories, that is shared across party. This is not necessarily much stronger among BJP supporters, but it should. The survey also showed that among Congress supporters there was also an adhesion and a thirst for that kind of strongman leadership, which the BJP offers and which the Congress does not anywhere.
Okay. From the global perspective, let's go to Lucknow and get the mood on the ground there. Saurabh Shukla has been there throughout. Saurabh, we'll just come to you in just a second. Let's just go back. Yes, Saurabh, is what is happening now in UP, is the Samajwadi Party now finally accepting that may have fought the good fight, but it's game over?
As of now, they are not. They are saying that we are still hopeful. I've joined by few supporters of Samajwadi Party. I just had a word with the spokesperson of Samajwadi Party. They are saying that they are still monitoring the situation. They are saying they're asking their poll agents to be at counting centers. They are saying the fight is close. In several seats, Samajwadi Party is behind. With numbers are very less, 100 votes, 200 votes, 50 votes, like that. But I've joined by few supporters of Samajwadi Party. आपको लग रहा है कि अब भी कुछ उम्मीद है?
भैया पूर्ण उम्मीद है, 12 बजे तक इंतजार करिए, हमारी सरकार पूर्ण बहुमत से बनेगी।
12 बजे तक इंतजार करें?
जी।
क्या लग रहा है कि 12 बजे तक क्या हो जाएगा? अब तो 100 सीटों से भी ज्यादा का अंतर हो गया है।
अंतर कुछ ज्यादा नहीं, किसी में 500 का अंतर, किसी में 1000 का अंतर है, 1 मिनट में सब खत्म हो जाएगा।
1 मिनट में सब खत्म हो जाएगा। आपको लग रहा है अभी उम्मीद है कुछ?
उम्मीद 2 बजे तक है। उम्मीद पे दुनिया कायम है। और अभी सरकार बनाने जा रहे हैं, अभी हम थोड़ी देर में।
बनाने जा रहे हो?
जी।
तो कैसे लग रहा है, कैसे सरकार बनोगे? बहुत पीछे हो।
वो कहते हैं ना, कुछ देर की खामोशी है, फिर कानों में शोर आएगा। इनका तो दौर आया है, इनका तो शोर आया है, हमारा दौर आएगा।
And now, Vasu, we can see Akhilesh Yadav is arriving. He is arriving, and this is Samajwadi Party office. He is arriving from his residence, and he is now reaching to his residence. That is Samajwadi Party. Akhilesh Yadav is sitting inside this car. He has just reached Samajwadi Party's office, and State President of Samajwadi Party is already inside. And now, maybe after some time, Samajwadi Party may issue some response. They are still, that is Akhilesh Yadav coming out of his car right outside at Samajwadi Party office. Akhilesh Yadav has reached Samajwadi Party office around 10:30 now, and he was monitoring the situation from his residence. Now, the State Chief of UP, Naresh Uttam Patel, is already inside. Few spokespersons are inside, and Samajwadi Party is saying that they will not speak officially till 12. After 12 p.m. they will issue a statement. So as of now, the workers are hopeful, but I don't see that things are going to change. Samajwadi Party workers are a little bit underconfident, but again, they are still saying that there is a ray of hope always. Vasu.
Thank you very much. That's very, very interesting seeing Akhilesh's car going in live there. Not yet giving up, but it looks, the writing's on the wall. There's no question. But as Shekhar was saying, a two-party state, Uttar Pradesh now.
Because 5 years back, with the same vote percentage as he's got, he would have got a clear, large majority. Now, BSP's disappearance completely. And
the interesting thing, the BSP vote going down is obviously gone to the BJP and not to the SP. That's
we don't know that.
Because they've done so well.
Some of it would have.
Yeah, would have been probably 60-40.
Maybe she's not been able to divide the Muslim vote in spite of the fact that she put up those 80 Muslim candidates. But the fact that she put up those candidates and also how relaxed and how cheerful she looked, it did look like she was on the quote-unquote right track.
But of the votes
but
that
she's
we
been on that right track now for
So
more than one election.
But of the votes
so two winners in this election.
Settlement ho gaya hai.
Two winners in this election are Rahul Gandhi in Punjab and Mayawati in UP.
Two winners?
Yeah, because both have achieved what they had set out to.
Because now as a result of
Rahul
that...
had set out to destroy his own party in Punjab, right? And Mayawati had set out to help the BJP in Uttar Pradesh.
So I don't
but
think
you know, when I interviewed Priyanka Gandhi just ahead of the campaign, she said that, listen, we are don't go by what the final numbers say. The fact is that we are now at least in the reckoning. We are in the fight. You people are writing about us. You people are reporting about us. So at least there is a long-term attempt to try to revive the Congress in Uttar Pradesh. It may not work in this election,
they have said in
but
UP
it is
for the
putting
past
the
20
seed
years.
for the long term.
Which is something, I'm sorry, the Congress has been saying in UP for the past 20 years. They've been using election as some sort of experiment ground, to test ideas for the future that have never materialized.
And in doing that, they have blown Punjab, they've blown Goa, and they've blown Uttarakhand.
So I wrote an op-ed
if Priyanka had campaigned in any of these three states, they may have got a few more votes.
So I'm saying you made this point earlier as well. There's no reason for her not to have campaigned in UP, but the Congress would have still put all its strength into these other states as well. So it doesn't have to be either or, right?
But don't you think these leaders are defeat proof? Like in Labour Party or Conservative Party, you have these big losses and you have to step aside. But in India, Mayawati can lose 5 consecutive elections, Akhilesh Yadav 4 consecutive elections, but they'll still remain supremos of their party.
Akhilesh Yadav has nearly doubled his vote share.
He's doubled his vote share, but before this he had lost 3 consecutive elections and had remained the supremo. So as a result, voters don't get new choices.
Yes, but
voters don't get new faces. It's the same losing supremos who keep heading the party and come back as supremos.
But that has to do with this peculiar character of parties in India, that they are in effect the private property.
Yeah, they're the private limited
families for most of them, not all of them. Right?
Yeah, so you
and therefore the possibility of internal challenge is very low.
So
we actually have someone from the Congress, Prannoy, Aishwarya Mahadev of the Congress is with us. Aishwarya, again, the question we've been asking everyone from the Congress who's been brave enough to come on a day like this, that this is just one of the, would you say this is one of the worst days for the Congress election-wise? There have been many, but is this amongst the worst?
Good morning. Quite an interesting.
But to be honest,
I think I've been listening for an hour and a half about a lot of the discourse that has been on your show. And this complete write-off and this sort of this is the writing on the wall, this is the end of the Congress has been said from the time I've started being a spokesperson in 2017. I think there are cycles. I think there is recalibration that has to happen. Yes, Punjab was something that I think that, even with everything that happened, we tried to overcome, and that was not something we were able to do. However, I still believe that in states like Uttarakhand and Goa, we have a fair enough chance. But one point I want to make, and this is a questioning not as a person from a political party, but in line with what Mr. Yogendra Yadav said, is that you begin to speculate on what exactly people of this country vote for, whether it was COVID, whether it's crimes against women, whether it's stray cattle. And then you realize that you moved away from a rationale to a completely emotional sort of us versus them, a sort of larger argument, or where you see, even if the BJP is not defending things, you see the vote bank has co-opted into that narrative so much. And I think that speaks very dangerously for democracy as a whole. And I don't say this as a spokesperson of a party, but as a common voter. And I think that's a larger problem going forward. However, the Congress party is still looking to see that we can make significant gains in 2 states. And I really do believe that there is hope at the end of the day. And I'm probably back on air some other point today. So we will take that forward after that, Vasu.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us. But just to say, we can't blame the people changing because in any issue that they feel strongly about, they have to feel one party is better than the other at solving it. And do you feel that the Congress has not been able to convince a voter that you can solve prices, unemployment better than anybody else, or you're as bad as everybody else? You haven't been able to distinguish yourself in that sense.
You know, the one thing that happens in terms of vote banks or even the clusters that vote is that a lot of regional parties in the Congress have overlapping vote banks where we end up or tend to pull votes from each other. Even if we offer an alternative, you know, I will think Uttar Pradesh, for whatever it was, the manner in which Priyanka Gandhi ji, whether it was the agenda, whether it was the woman forward, you know, the platform that we took, it was something that was completely and extremely unique. But a lot of these parties eat into each other, while the BJP, you know, unfortunately has ended up carving a sort of section for itself that will not move irrespective. This happens across all states and we've seen it. And whether we resonate with the people or not, which I think we are, I think that idea of a certain amount of despondency that you cannot take on the BJP is something that the people feel, and they say we might as well join, you know, what we see as an incumbent or what we see as an establishment as opposed to giving other people a chance. I think the outlier that way is Punjab, but that to a large extent was, let's say, steps in the wrong direction on our side that somebody else gained from, Prannoy ji, to be honest.
But, But you know, when you talk of that inevitability, it's not the same with every party. Other parties fight the BJP and they're even able to defeat the BJP. It's Congress which frankly has emerged as more of a weak link in the opposition space. And in fact, we have with us Jawahar Sarkar, Prannoy, who's Trinamool Congress, is joining us. We may once wonder what is Trinamool Congress doing on a day like this. Where is the TMC? But they are in Goa, a player, and that's why you know, we've got TMC on. So Jawahar Sarkar, if you look at the numbers at the moment, I think it shows the TMC MGP alliance is at about 5. We'll have to get the breakup to see how much of that is the TMC and how much of that is the MGP. The suspicion is that large part of that could be MGP, but we'll have a look. But would you say, Jawahar Sarkar, if you look at this overall picture, particularly at Goa, the fact that opposition says we must unite against the BJP, but you all come, everyone fights with each other, and at the end of the day, it's advantage BJP?
Well, this set of elections to the state assemblies has been far different from the last set that we had last year. If you notice, last year, the TMC wiped out all other parties, or the people decimated all other parties because they firmly believed in Bengal that the TMC was the only opposition. Now, that is an interesting point, the one that goes in favor of AAP in Punjab. People are looking for an alternative. People are just looking for an alternative. So if you come to UP, it is quite clear that the people did not consider that there was any alternative ready to it. There was a humongous amount of support for Akhilesh Yadav, and our party also supports him. But obviously, he was not able to convert the support into votes. We have suspicions on a few accounts of transmission losses, but we will not get into that here now. The point is, people are looking for a viable alternative. Enthusiasm at political meeting is only one part of it. Conversion of this fire into votes is another. It depends upon a lot about the credibility. See, Bengal has always been a left state that has ruled for 34 years, a Congress that has ruled for 25 years, and all of the people of Bengal just decided they had enough of the Congress, enough of the left, and swung their left and Congress vote to the TMC. So that is what we call the fire in the belly syndrome. The fire in the belly syndrome. So obviously, UP, that fire in the belly was missing. The angst in Western UP the crowd swell at SP's meetings, the amount of disgust built up against the BJP regime.
Just to interrupt you a second, would you say in retrospect going to Goa for the TMC was a mistake, because in Bengal you fought the entire election that outsiders don't allow them in, and then you go into Goa and you're not a Goa party at all, not an insider there. So was it a error of judgment?
We'll be able to analyze that after the results are out. But Goa was surely, there were invitations from people in Goa that please repeat the Bengal model. We didn't go as an invasion force or something. It went on the request of people, and there was a visible presence of Goan candidates. There was no one as a candidate in Goa who was from outside Goa. If luck had favored us in Goa, again, it would be Goans who would be running Goa. So the outside element was less, I would put it, in the case of TMC going to Goa. It was also the fundamental right of a party to seek other avenues. AAP has ventured into Punjab, AAP has ventured into Goa, where we find the traditional parties, the traditional opponents to the BJP are leaving spaces uncovered. That's the point. That's the point. And we may not come up with nothing spectacular, but remember, it's only a 3-month-old excursion. It's a 3-month-old experiment. So you don't expect spectacular results to come out of a 3-month-old experiment. That too from a party that's the original.
Right.
In fact,
got your point.
In fact, it looks like almost all the leads for the TMC combined in Goa is actually its alliance partner, the MGP, right? I don't know if Baj can quickly check that. But also, Prannoy, we've got a
thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah,
very
thanks
interesting.
very much, Jawahar
very
Sarkar.
interesting.
Thank you.
We've got a big leader from Uttar Pradesh joining us. Satish Mahana is here with us. He's the industry minister of Uttar Pradesh. He's also the party's veteran leader from the industrial hub of Kanpur. Thank you very much indeed, Satish ji, for joining us. Now, congratulations to you. This is a massive win for the BJP in Uttar Pradesh. This is, kind of history in the making, that you have the same party coming back to power twice. Who would you credit this to? Is it the Modi factor, the Yogi factor, or combined? Double engine. You're on mute, Satish ji. Unmute kar dijiye. Ji, my same question. Is this the result of the double engine Modi Yogi formula? Okay, well,
he wasn't able to hear you. Also,
we're just
pointing at his.
It's the perils of Zoom television, but we'll just get back to him.
We in Bengal call it Zoom.
Sorry?
Carry on.
Zoom.
So do I. Can I? So we've started seeing maps, and the UP map seems, to indicate that the SP seems to be performing reasonably well in Western UP, in the Manipuri Etawah region, which is a traditional stronghold, in Rohilkhand, where you have the largest concentration of Muslim voters, but also it seems that most of its gains seems to be in Eastern UP and in parts of Awadh, the last phases of the election, where he itself expected not to do that, that well. And so that would actually indicate, Shekhar, that the votes from other parties, notably from the BSP, actually is getting distributed across parties rather than going en masse, for the BJP. But the geography of the results seems quite interesting.
No, it'll also be interesting to see in the East if they're doing well outside of their traditional Azamgarh area and in other parts of Purvachal, because that's really where they got most of their seats from last time.
As of now, that's what the map seems to be indicating.
Well, as of now, since SP seems to be trending towards about 37-8% vote, this will be their highest ever vote share.
That's right.
And they'll be on the losing side. In 2012, they got a majority with
29.8%.
So that is how UP has changed now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just try and go back to once again to Satish Mahanaji, Industries Minister of Uttar Pradesh. Let's see, Satish ji, if we can now get a response from you. if the line is through. So I guess it seems that it's coming and going. The signal is coming and going, a bit like the way the numbers are fluctuating in Goa. But let's just go across to my colleague Manish Kumar, who is in BJP headquarters in Lucknow, and there it seems, Manish, the celebrations have already begun.
Yes, Vasu, because now it's clear that Samajwadi Party can't catch up with BJP as far as numbers are concerned. They have a comfortable majority and this gap is really widening. So the number of supporters, even though the EVM counting is still going on and just 4 or 5 rounds have completed, but you can see that the big celebration, because there is a huge number of supporters.
योगी जी 300 पार आ रहे हैं और माफियाओं में खलबली मच गई. अरे ये क्या हो गया?
Vasu, also the Abir has Gulal is being now they are playing with the Gulal. It's like holy time for them, and dance has also started because the media is such a great number. So supporters are also not leaving any chance.
ये उत्तर प्रदेश की 24 करोड़ जनता की जीत है. जो ये निर्णायक साबित हुआ है, ये विश्वास की जीत है. ये जनता का
श्री राम
की समस्त जनता की जीत है.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हमेशा पायदान में खड़े अंतिम व्यक्ति का हमेशा ध्यान रखा है, जिसका ये कारण है कोई योजना बिना किसी भेदभाव के जब पहुंची है, तो आज उसका रिजल्ट है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी 325 प्लस सीटों से फिर जीतने जा रही है.
So the supporters are hopeful that they will be able to once again cross the 300 mark. Vasu.
All right, so Dhol Nagaras and full celebrations at the BJP headquarters in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. And let's try now, third time lucky Prannoy, Satish Mahana, Industries Minister of Uttar Pradesh.
Thank you. I hope you can hear us.
Thank you, Srinivasan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and
yes, I can hear you now.
Prannoy Roy.
Good.
Prannoy Roy is also here. Satish ji, congratulations. Who would you credit this victory to? Yogi, Modi, double engine?
Definitely to the people of my state and the leadership of Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji and Yogi ji in the state. We are proud enough, as I have been speaking to you regularly also when you came to my constituency that day also, yesterday also we spoke 2 times. Whatever I had said, that is going to turn into reality now.
Well, many congratulations. This is a huge victory, historic in the sense that you've come to power, which is very, very unusual in Uttar Pradesh for a second time. And I believe with a swing in your favor, increase in vote share compared to last time. So what was the single factor?
Yes, definitely it will. As I said to Srinivas, the single factor was the confidence in the government under the leadership of Yogi Adityanath ji. The law and order position was very good. The development works, as I had been speaking regularly on this, before 2017, there was no electricity supply in the state. And now when we went into the polls on 2022, I used to ask to people, my constituency and other parts of the state where I had opportunity to go. I asked them, 17 se pehle batti aati thi? They said no. Maine kaha, ab batti jati hai? They said nahi, ab jati nahi hai, pehle aati nahi thi. Law and order situations, definitely yes, when I would like to say that the children, the girls and the ladies, they were much more safer than before 2017. This बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा था हम लोगों के लिए जो महिला सुरक्षा का, that was very important. And those days people could not forget before 2017 when all of the Uttar Pradesh was under riots. ransom was there, kidnapping was there, law and order situation was very bad. These were the all factors when people remember before 2017 and after 2017 till 2022 that made BJP come into power once again by the support of the people of Uttar Pradesh.
Satish ji, the same question which I was asking you earlier as well, that while all those things may be true, equally one can't deny the fact that there was unemployment.
Srinivasan, now you have to accept the fact that the mandate of the people is everywhere bigger than all these surveys and all those individual people's mandate cannot be challenged in any way. You have your own point of opinion, you have your own mindset. So that you can do. You can ask many other questions which you want to do it. But today, the people of Uttar Pradesh, they have given clear and very big majority to Bharatiya Janata Party under the leadership of Yogi Adityanath.
Okay. That is true, and it is an amazing victory, and you really deserve huge congratulations. And what are your plans now for Uttar Pradesh? Are you going to make any changes, improve certain problem areas that you're facing? Just looking ahead a bit.
Possibility of improvement is always there. We cannot end that opportunity because it is in human nature. He has to go ahead. Today morning, I was speaking to one of the news channels. He said, what are the things left behind? I asked him, a few of the developed countries, whether it is America or a few of the European states, they also want to go further. They also want to go ahead in every sphere of life, whether it is now shifting into IT, electronics, and many other things. So we have much to do. We have done much, and we have much more to do within within next 5 years, and definitely we will do it.
Again, congratulations, and do send us videos of your celebrations tonight.
No, but one quick question, if I may, Satish ji.
Yes, please.
One quick question: Will the BJP now, second time in victory? There was a strong feeling that in the first round that minorities felt insecure, they felt threatened, they were not represented enough by the BJP. You've not given, by the way, a single ticket to a Muslim even this time. Will there be a softer approach, a gentler approach, an outreach particularly to UP's minorities?
Yeah, Srinivasan, you have asked very important question, a very good question. I would definitely reply to it. I would just like to ask you, or these fields, those who are doing surveys and all those things which are related to the elections. Did BJP government at any time differentiate between the Muslims and Hindus? All the government schemes which had to go to the poor people, which had to go to the lowest level, that were equally distributed between Hindus and Muslims. There was no differentiation between that. So you just can't name, nobody can name only one scheme which can say that there was differentiation. Definitely yes. The law and order position was to be maintained. The appeasement was not there. Only appeasement was not there. Danga was not there. Riots were not there. And we will not allow the riots. We will not appease anybody. As Honorable Modi says, ki sabka saath and sabka vikas. And if they are part of everybody, then we are also equally with them. And definitely we won't differentiate between Hindus and Muslims.
All right. Anyway, good to hear that there will, if you seem to suggest, there will be a more gentler approach. But thank you so much indeed, Satish ji. Congratulations to you, to BJP. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
very
joining
much
us.
indeed
Thank
for
you.
joining us, sir. Okay.